City mayoral race election night live stream live with me, Purple Political Talk, and my good friend UEP. UEP, how are you today?
I am good. I'm excited for these results to flow, and we've got a lot of races we're going to cover, and I'm very excited to deliver our coverage tonight. This is the first stream we've done together, and both of us are very excited to see who's going to win these races.
Right. So today we have a very big night ahead of us. We have a lot of races from New York City. So the big show, the big thing that we're all here for is the New York City mayoral race Democratic primaries, where the Democrats will nominate one candidate to represent them in the general election. And just because of New York's demographics and New York's, general political scheme, we're going to be seeing this candidate most likely not becoming the next mayor of New York, which carries a lot of political weight, as New York is the largest city in the country. So I think that is something that we should definitely keep in mind when we're looking at this race. UEP, do you want to go on with some of the other races we're going to be covering tonight?
Yeah, so obviously we've all got our eyes on the mayoral Democratic primary, because essentially whoever wins that primary is going to likely be the next mayor of New York City, based on obviously New York being a very Democratic area. But we also have a couple other more local races, and these races, I know they're not getting a ton of coverage because the mayoral race hogs of the attention, but we have a lot of other races. We have the mayor of Albany race. We've got district attorney of a couple of areas in New York City: Brooklyn, Manhattan, and most notably the Manhattan Democratic primaries play the most interesting race to run, because the other ones are either Republican primaries where they have no chance of winning, or all unopposed Democrats. We've also got borough president races and a couple city council races, but we're mostly in, as well as comptroller and some county executive races. But we're mostly focusing on, for me, obviously the mayoral primary for the Democrats and some district attorney races, because those can have the most impact in the area.
Right. So tonight it's a pretty big night for New Yorkers as they almost choose their mayor. And to get started with this race, I wanted to start by discussing with UEP some of the candidates that are running for these races. So I'm going to start by showing the candidates that are running. There we go. We have that set up right there. Hope you guys like the setup. We're going to do some question and answers while we wait for more results later on. So you guys should stay tuned for that. Let me just check right here. Sorry, I have to duck to find there you go. We can start now the coverage and discussing the candidates. And we're going to do Q&A. So guys, do not stress, because we are going to be answering questions. And if you have anything important to say, or any questions or any comments about what we're saying, please leave it in the chat and we're going to address it. So UEP, let's start by discussing our tier 1 candidates. So these are candidates that are the main candidates of the race. And I think it's very important to note that, this election is a star-studded field for New York politicians. These are politicians who's been building up their strength, their growth in New York City, and right now is their time to shine. So would you mind talking about Eric Adams?
No problem. So Eric Adams is kind of all these candidates are still left-wing Democrats. None of these candidates are conservative Democrats or Republicans we're talking about right now. So that being said, Eric Adams is on the more moderate end of this field. He's definitely, I guess we can say tougher on crime than, Andrew Yang or Maya Wiley, for example, but he's still a Democrat that would govern similar to Bill DeBlasio, maybe a little to the right of Bill DeBlasio, but he's still a Democrat. He's kind of similar to a Joe Biden in that he's a center-left Democrat who is not going to tie himself to any more progressive groups like, the Squad or defund the police. And I'm not saying, again, that all progressives support defunding the police, but I am saying that Adams has not tied himself to those groups. So he's kind of running as the Joe Biden. That being said, he's not as well liked by the party as Joe Biden. We see Joe Biden having consistently run a 95% approval rating among Democrats. Eric Adams' poll numbers are much lower than that. And he actually took a lot of fire during, he actually said he had a really big scandal. Well, not maybe a scandal, but I guess a misfire in my opinion. I think it was a bad move, because what he said was, he said that Andrew Yang was running for mayor to prevent a person of color from winning that race, when in fact Andrew Yang is actually Asian American. So a little misfire from Eric Adams' campaign, but he's still heading into Election Day as one of the top 3 candidates.
Sorry, I was muted. I forgot I was muted. I agree with a lot of things that UEP said. As far as Eric Adams goes, he is again the Joe Biden of this race. And I think that one of the big things for him is he is coalescing a big group of people, and I think he, like, demographically speaking, who is he actually, like, who are his supporters? And I think mostly it's going to be more somewhat elite New Yorkers, along with some support in certain areas of the other boroughs, like other than Manhattan. I think that he's going to have a lot of support in Brooklyn. That's his home borough. And, I think that he's really done a good job of consolidating his support. Before this race was pretty much a race between two candidates, Scott Stringer and Eric Adams. And, what's ended up happening is that Andrew Yang, my bad, not Eric Adams. Andrew Yang, Scott Stringer started falling after he had a sexual harassment scandal. Andrew Yang fell for different reasons as well. So Eric Adams cemented himself as the leader of New York City politics in that way. And, he is a former police officer. He could get some support from, those more conservative police officers, that might be voting in this Democratic primary. But, his big focus groups are, appealing to that message of person of color, because I think that's one of the things that we're really seeing in the Democratic Party. They want to be diverse. And Eric Adams, along with some of the other candidates we're going to be discussing tonight, they are going to have those things. So I'm going to take now this opportunity to go out and talk about Catherine Garcia. So she is, considerably in second place for this race. And Catherine Garcia is a former New York City sanitation commissioner. So some people might say, well, that's kind of like a political position. You're just taking care of the trash. However, in such a big city like New York, this shows certain amounts of leadership because it's so hard to get the sanitation and everything together down. So she is running in this race, and she's had a lot of success post Andrew Yang's fall from grace from his, front position, along with Scott Stringer. And, for Catherine Garcia, these last couple of days, her ability to campaign to get second and third ranked choice voters, which, again, we're going to get into that a little bit later in the stream. What does ranked choice voting mean for this election? Catherine Garcia is really going to benefit from that. But Catherine Garcia overall, she really encompasses, that part of the party that is between the establishment a little bit more to the left. She's in a weird middle ground per se. I would say that
kind of like Kamala.
Right. Sort of like Kamala Harris, that she's not completely with the left-wing part of this candidate, which is someone like Maya Wiley or Diane Morales, but she's also not as far right or right. And when I say right, I'm talking about Democratic right, relative to the rest of these candidates like Andrew Yang or Ray McGuire. So that is Catherine Garcia. UEP, do you have any comments on that?
No, I think you did a very good job of covering Garcia. Good job.
So do you want to take Maya Wiley?
Yeah, sure. So Maya Wiley is of the candidates we've discussed right now. We talked about Eric Adams being more right-wing for this primary. We talked about Garcia being kind of in the weird middle, I guess you could say. Maya Wiley is probably, it's obviously up for debate, but she's probably the most left-wing candidate in this primary. She's endorsed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I believe, and she is a progressive Democrat running on a very progressive platform, and if she was elected, if she's the next mayor, she's going to govern as probably the most liberal mayor New York City has ever seen. Now, that being said, she hasn't tied herself to defund the police, really, the way we saw Cori Bush, has tweeted out defund the police. Rashida Tlaib has said that, but Maya Wiley hasn't done that. Now, it's also worth noting that she's not like, I guess, when I say pro-police Democrat, I'm talking about Eric Adams, someone who has distanced himself from defund the police. Wiley hasn't distanced herself from that. And she actually is a civil rights activist, and she has had quarrels with the police in the past. So she would definitely govern as a progressive and is running as a progressive, but not really. I don't think it's fair to compare her to AOC. Not because of her policy, just because of her rhetoric.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you there, definitely. Maya Wiley, although she might be a little bit more on the more progressive side, and she might take those left-wing policies. I think she's actually a really likable person. I think that unlike someone like AOC or Rashida Tlaib, that wing of the party that really rubs some people off, like I really see her as a Bernie Sanders type that, although she might have policies that a lot of people are not fond of, she is more likable in certain ways than someone like AOC. So I think that's something that's really going to help her in certain boroughs. Now, another thing that's really going to help her is she's going to coalesce all the support from people like Jamal Bowman and people like AOC, who are going to all come together and campaign and canvass for Maya Wiley. And I think that's really going to end up helping her, and it's going to be a really good thing for her moving forward. As far as her chances in these races, I think that she's really she's probably going to end up getting third or fourth place when we look at ranked choice voting. I think the reason for that being is, when the other candidates start losing their votes and, when everything gets split up, because we're going to talk about that. This race, it's not only important to get everyone's number one vote, it's very important to end up winning everyone else's second, third, fourth, fifth choice, because you really do not know what's going to end up happening in the race. So I think Maya Wiley is going to end up doing very well. Now, moving on to our next candidate, we have Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is, he's the most famous and the most well-known politician from this race. Andrew Yang ran for president in 2020, and he came from really being an entrepreneur, from being, a pretty much no one knows who he is, to complete Democratic superstar. He really started a movement among Democrats, moved Democrats a little bit more to the economic center, and started, while still, shifting some economic policies like universal income. He also shifted to business and growth of the economy in other ways, which could be seen as some more right-wing economic theories. Now, I think that he's very interesting. Now, at a New York level, I think that he's had the toughest race. I think that he has one thing at the beginning of this race. He had insane amount of political coverage on the news. I think, remember, politics, the news is like an endorsement. If you're being covered, it's like getting an endorsement from the biggest political gods out there. So that was one thing that was coming good for him. But then he started having some troubles with, sounding a little bit out of touch in certain ways, because again, the media turned on him. And I think races, we have to look at political races. When the media turns on you, that means you're going to have a tougher race to end up, fighting. And for Andrew Yang, it was a couple important things. It was laughing at some jokes that, were very edgy. He had some controversies walking into bodegas, and people were saying it's not stereotypical. It's just certain amounts of coverage that was very negative for Andrew Yang, which really hindered him. So UEP, what do you think about Andrew Yang and his chances tonight?
So first of all, I think you did a very good job of addressing the issues that Yang has had throughout this campaign. I think that possibly one of the greatest gaffes he had was actually not too long ago. I think it was last week, where in the final, I think in the final debate, or maybe the second to last debate, he said, homeless people on the street were mentally ill of rights, but we have rights too. And of course, what he said wasn't wrong, but the way he delivered it made it seem like he didn't care about mentally ill people, like he thought they were somehow, infringing on the rights of people who do not have a mental illness. So that was a gaffe for him that cost him support. He's also kind of running an interesting campaign. He may be a progressive economically, but he's had some social stances that have not helped him, or at least have not helped him with a lot of progressive voters, whether it be, not being as anti-police as was originally expected, or being more pro-Israel than most of his party. And it isn't to say that, that the Democratic Party is exclusively anti-Israel, or that the Republican Party is anti-Palestine. I'm just saying that he, on the issue of Israel, has not been unique, or has been unique, compared to other members of his party. Now, that being said, Yang does has one really big advantage going into the election. It's that he has the most name recognition out of all these candidates, and it's by a lot. So Andrew Yang, right now, is definitely the most well-known candidate of the race, and no one really comes close. And I'll be honest here, before this race, in December of 2020, before this race really took off, Andrew Yang was, I think, the only one of these people that I knew. Catherine Garcia, I think I heard of her, but I didn't know about her. The rest of these people, I had no idea who they were. So if they're, I guess lower information voters heading into voting today, and they don't know who to vote for, they're probably going to pick Andrew Yang because he's most likely that they've heard of him before. And Andrew Yang's still a decently popular figure in the party. He's not polarizing. He's not like Bernie Sanders, where we have a lot of the party really disliking him. We see Andrew Yang being a kind of a figure who's had the ability to appeal to both progressives and moderates in the past, and I think he can do that tonight. So if he wins, I don't think it's because he's run a good campaign. I don't think it's because he is a good candidate for New York. I think it's because of his name recognition, because of that run for president.
Right. I think that one thing that a lot of people a point that people are making in the chat is being pro Israel in New York City is actually really important. And with the Democratic Party,
there was just to put it out there, there is a huge Jewish community in New York, so it wasn't a bad move. I'm just saying it's he deferred from the rest of his party, not a bad or a good move.
Right, and I think that especially with New York City's demographics, like he's gonna be touching some of the areas that politically haven't really been represented in New York City, and I think that's really the big one is the Asian community. There's actually a quite large Asian and Chinese community in New York City, so he's going to be able to go in and take those voters. Now, I think that one of the things I forgot to mention is, as far as ranked choice voting goes, him and Catherine Garcia had a strategic alliance, which really was Yang told all his voters to rank Garcia second, but then Garcia didn't return the favor. So what do you think about that alliance?
Well, I think it's weirdly similar to what happened in Maine, where Lisa Savage, the third party independent candidate, who I think ran on a progressive campaign of legal I think a pro recreational marijuana campaign or something. You'd have to get back to me on that. I will admit that I don't know too much about her, but Savage in the Maine Senate race in 2020, it's crazy to think it was already 7 months ago, but she explicitly endorsed a Gideon second vote, because Maine is another state that's in ranked choice voting in the past, and Savage said, vote for me first, but I want you to put Sarah Gideon second, because I do not want in the end Susan Collins to be reelected as senator. So I think Yang was kind of doing what I think he needed to do, because look, I think that originally he was not intending to make any alliances. He was supposed to run away with this race. This race was not supposed to be close. Now, was that belief that Yang was going to win it by a lot? Was it a smart belief? No, because we didn't really know the candidates when we thought he was going to win it by a lot. But I think Yang should not have had to do this, and I think he did it because he needed that spark. He needed, how can I get these other voters to appeal to me more? How can I, because look, even if Kathleen Garcia didn't say to vote for Andrew Yang second, her voters are still going to think of him more favorably than they would have, before he said that. So it was clearly an attempt to kind of make inroads with Garcia voters, because Garcia, it's not like he just said some no name. Garcia is going to finish in the top 4. She's a tier 1 candidate, and her voters could be crucial to Yang winning this race.
Right. Unless anything absolutely insane happens, or unless who knows, one of these candidates in the top tier gets I don't know, struck by a meteor or something. These are going to be the top 4 candidates. And I think you start seeing an actual real divide between in polling numbers, in support, in donations. You see a huge divide once you start, and you split it down those 4 candidates. The top 4 candidates are going to end up being the ones battling out. And for them, having the first choice voters, a lot of them go to them, might be a positive thing, because that's going to give them a little bit more of a head start. If you think about it, imagine all the candidates are drowning. Whoever gets the most first round votes is just going to have a little bit more of a life preserver. Other than that, this race is really up for grabs, and I think that's what's interesting. As we get into some of the tier 2 candidates who are somewhat more unknown, but they still have some support in this race. They have 3 to 7%, which in a race of 15 people, 13 people is actually a good percentage. So UEP, do you want to start and talk about Scott Stringer and his fall from grace in this race?
So Scott Stringer was expected to be among the most. He was supposed to be a top tier candidate. He was actually, I think, second in the polls behind Yang for a very long time, but he was hit by a scandal, which I think Purple can do a better job of explaining it than I can, because I haven't really read about the scandal and it's really since it hit. But Stringer had a harassment scandal where people I think who worked for him were were accusing him of having I think a toxic and inappropriate workplace. Again, I'll leave it to Purple to clarify what that was because I don't want to misrepresent what happened. But Stringer is the New York City comptroller, and I'm pretty sure that essentially, because my state, California, I don't think that we have a comptroller. I'm not familiar with it. I always thought of it as an East Coast thing, but he manages, I guess, the money of the city, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm terribly wrong, but please do correct me. But he still has the reason that he was supposed to do better was because he does hold office. He has had elected office before, and he's still known throughout the city. So when I talked about the name recognition between him and Yang, if lower information voters were like, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I don't really know these candidates. Stringer would have had that advantage as, being the comptroller of the city. However, since then, it's kind of been the opposite. As, when people think of Stringer, the first thing they're going to think of is that scandal, which I think has kind of trounced his prospects of being elected as the next mayor.
Yeah, I really think I agree with that. And, I think with Stringer's case really shows what, the power of the media is. If it wasn't for that big scandal that was literally put over everywhere, mainstream news, and, this race was somewhat covered by mainstream media, but, because they really have nothing else to cover. Because, lately Biden he's not as big of headlines as Trump was. So, this race has been covered. Scott Stringer got a real big amount, along with Andrew Yang, of that negative press coverage. So Scott Stringer, he has that name recognition, but everything went down because, like you were saying, it was a toxic workplace mixed with some sexual harassment. So that was the big thing for him. So I think, generally speaking, going into this race, he's gonna get probably 5th or 6th. Now the next candidate we have is Diane Morales.
Hold on. Really quickly, I forgot to mention this. I do not know why I forgot this, but Scott Stringer, his only hope of winning is because AOC did say that she ranked him second behind Maya Wiley on her ballot. It's not even endorsement. It's a pretty lame endorsement, him being ranked second on her ballot. But I mean, if he gets enough second ballot votes, maybe it could help him out. But just to put that out, probably not going to win. But those are his only hopes if progressives somehow come out big for him.
Right, and this race was weird because you also have those half endorsements. I forgot about that. And that's what we were talking about, Andrew Yang and Catherine Garcia. Those are half endorsements because they're literally not going to say, I'm endorsing Catherine Garcia. Rank her first, I'm also running. So I definitely think that's a big factor. Now, going on to the next person, nonprofit executive and activist Diane Morales. I do not like this woman. I really think that she's way far to the left. And she is the type of person that, she was just came off as irritating. I don't really know much about her other than she was, a minor player in this race. But she is like the type of person that's, the super liberal person that's always focusing about, especially about social things and things like that. And sometimes, those too liberal things, they come off a little bit too bad. And I think, when I saw her debate performance, it really reminded me in a way of Kamala Harris's debate performance against Mike Pence. It reminded me of how Kamala Harris did certain things that came off wrong to the voter, and I think that's the biggest definition in my eyes for her. UVP?
Yeah, I think you did a good job on touching on Diane Morales. I do want to say that Morales, I think the reason that she is kind of dropped, I think originally she could have been the top 4, but I think that her and Maya Wiley being the most progressive candidates in this race, I think with ranked choice voting, it's not as bad as it would be, but she's lost a lot of first ballot voters to Maya Wiley, which is unfortunate for her because I think when it comes down to Maya Wiley has ran a better campaign than Diane Morales. So I think that's what's going on with Morales. Could she win? Yes, but it's not likely, especially with Wiley being in the race, taking those first ballot votes for her.
Right. Moving on to Sean Donovan. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, UAP. Have you heard of him?
I'll be honest, this is the guy I haven't heard of. I've heard of all these people except for Sean Donovan. So,
okay,
being honest here, do not know who Sean Donovan is.
So Sean Donovan was an Obama-era cabinet executive. He was head of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So, and he was also director of the Office of Management and Budget, which huge roles in the federal government. These are literally senior top White House officials. So, he has a resume, and I would argue that out of all these people, the most prepared person to be mayor of New York is Sean Donovan, hands down. I don't know if you guys have to, agree with me or anything, but I think he is the most qualified, politically. Of course, some of these people have more experience in managing the city, which is more important. But that's really gonna help him out, But I think the big thing is that he doesn't have that big New York City name recognition. So, those all cabinet positions are great, but it's really not gonna help him. So, what do you think of him now, UEP?
Well, I mean, again, he's the only candidate I haven't read up on, but him being in tier 2, not likely to win. But I mean, he has the qualifications, and him being the former HUD secretary and being a guy in the Obama administration, gonna get. I bet that his best group is probably just establishment Democrats who might live, in the more wealthy areas of the city, but so not likely to win. And to be honest, I don't. Again, this is just me, but I haven't heard of him, so
Right.
It would be very embarrassing for me if he won this race and I hadn't heard of him until Purple enlightened me tonight. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna win. I don't think he has the support, and even like second, third ranked choice voters, like he doesn't have the support. Last person, Ray McGuire, Wall Street executive. I mean, what else from the financial capital of the United States? I think he's an interesting pick. I think he holds some liberal values, but then he still holds, the traditional, like, more right-wing economic policies. And I think that, he had a little bit of trouble during that debate. I mean, not trouble, but like he got into a little bit of an argument with Diane Morales when he was saying that he was representing the Black and brown community. So I really think that he's probably going to do out of the tier candidates, like out of the bottom 3, which is Diane Morales, Sean Donovan, and Ray McGuire, and himself. I think Ray McGuire is going to rank Sean Donovan and Diane Morales. I think I think he's going to do very well with those elite voters, financial voters in New York City, especially a lot of those Democrats who are, a little bit more, the Democrats currently have a very big culture movement that, you have to get these minorities to get political positions, which is important. So I think that someone like Ray McGuire might do well with those type of voters. So, UEP, do you have anything to say about Ray McGuire?
Yeah, so McGuire is essentially the most, I said Eric Adams was pretty moderate. I think him and McGuire are the most moderate candidates in the race. McGuire, I'd say, is a little more moderate than Eric Adams, but, I don't really disagree with you. Just going to say Adams is more to the right of McGuire. McGuire is, again, he is a Wall Street executive, and he's kind of the Michael Bloomberg of this race. He's running as a corporate Democrat, or maybe not, I shouldn't say that because I feel like we've taken, corp kind of is, I guess, a term that people don't like to be associated with, but he is a Democrat who is running with ties to Wall Street and with ties to the business sector, which is both a good and bad thing for a lot of reasons. I don't think you need me to explain that, but it's still a moderate candidate overall who has the ability to appeal to Republicans, but is probably not going to win this primary as a result of little to no name recognition and because he is realistically to the right of most voters in this primary.
Right.
And by the way, it's 5:59 on the West Coast, 8:59 on the East Coast. At the polls close at 9:00, so we're about to get our first results in, barring any delays. Yeah. So we're excited.
So let me take these images off the screen and let's just have a little bit of a discussion while we wait for polls closing. I don't know if you want to wait so we can make the big announcement. I mean, I don't think we should be getting results at 9:00. We're gonna have to wait like 10 minutes. But UEP, final predictions. If you were a New York voter, how would you rank your ballot?
Well, I guess we're gonna have to take away the unbiased part, but I mean, if you guys want to hear that, I'm down. Okay, so I'm not a fan of. I guess you could say that I don't care about this race as much as I should. I live at the other end of the country. I live in California, for those of you who don't know. So this is as far away from me as possible. That being said, I'm still, I guess I'm rooting for Andrew Yang. I hope that doesn't trigger anyone in the chat. I guess if I'd rank him first. I mean, I'm not a fan of too many of these candidates. I think I kind of have beef with all of them, and I disagree with all of them on certain issues. And I can list them. Andrew Yang and I'm not a fan of his stance on Israel. I think he's a little too pro-Israel. And by the way, I think that issue is terrible for us to talk about. We should not get into that because of how divisive it is. But I think Yang's in the wrong a little bit on that issue. Now, second, I'd probably have to, maybe go with Catherine Garcia, then Ray McGuire. Then realistically, I'm not sure. Maybe Maya Wiley. I don't know though, because after those three, I kind of dislike everyone. Maybe Sean Donovan, because I don't really know too much about him. Although that could be a bad idea. So Yang first, Garcia second, maybe Sean Donovan third. Beyond that,
yeah, I think you just rank top three candidates. For me, it would be I would rank Maya Wiley first. I really like her. Then I would Andrew Yang, and then I would do I don't like Eric Adams that much. I really prefer Ray McGuire instead of him. So that's who I would rank in that order, and I think it's actually really interesting. So we're pretty much set. Polls have officially closed on the East Coast. We're probably not going to get results until probably like 9:15 because it usually takes a little bit for the New York Times, because that's what we're going to be using today. Today we're going to be using New York Times live results to report these results to you guys today. So we're going to do that. But first, I want to show you guys some polling data. So, oops, wrong window or thingy. There you go. Here's some polls. I don't know if you guys can see that. I think we're gonna might have to just show one at a time, and then I'm gonna stop our videos so we can show them in the big screen and they can see it. Is that okay, UAP? Well,
yeah,
I already
sure.
did it. So okay, so let's take a look at this 2021. These are the last polls that came out with actual ranked choice voting implemented. So they conducted this poll like the election would be conducted. So here we see it, and you see that we have a couple candidates who are like nobodies, like no one knows who they are. But you see with the candidates that we like actually know that we discussed at the beginning of this stream, we can see that Sean Donovan, then Ray McGuire, then Diane Morales, Scott Stringer, Andrew Yang, Maya Wiley, Catherine Garcia, and Eric Adams. So
briefly interrupt. Our first results are out, but do continue.
There are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to give you a brief rundown?
Actually,
right now,
let's pan over to those results. I think that's more important at this point.
All right. Right now, Catherine Garcia has a very narrow lead, but we have basically 1% of the vote in as of right now. Right now, Garcia has a really good lead in Manhattan. She's doing pretty well in Brooklyn, and Eric Adams is leading in the Bronx. No results from Staten Island, which I think is the most interesting thing to watch. But yeah, right now, if we look at the full results, Wiley is in second in every single one of these boroughs that we have results from.
Right. So we can see Manhattan. Yeah, Catherine Garcia is doing very well in Manhattan. This is probably just one precinct. It shouldn't be that many. How many votes? No, it's probably more than one precinct. Oh no, we're starting to get votes quickly. So we're gonna be doing this like popcorning from thing to thing. We're gonna be panning over when we have big results. But yeah, right now Catherine Garcia has 40% of the vote. Maya Wiley 19.7, Eric Adams 15.8, and then Andrew Yang is underperforming heavily. So let's see. This map shows us by like victory of lead. I think Brooklyn is going to be pretty close overall. Yeah, as of right now, Catherine Garcia is doing very good. Let's take a look at some of the other races we're getting some results from. The Republican primary, not very important, but Curtis Sliwa, he was getting the most endorsement from notable people, at least. Like she got the endorsement from Nicole Maliotakis, notably the biggest Republican from New York City. So he got that endorsement. And then for other mayors, for Albany, we already got some results from primaries. Let's see. The big races we're really looking for. This race is already kind of decided. Manhattan Democratic District Attorney nominee. We currently we don't have a projection for that, but it's really close between Bragg and Weinstein. Let's see.
Yeah, just to put it out, the DA results are heavily skewed. I can get a little bit into this race, but right now, Bragg and Weinstein were the favorites, but we're likely still going to see Court and Orleans catch up to third and fourth in these races. And it's also, I think you have to remember that the areas, I know Dan Court is going to be stronger in the areas kind of surrounding District 73, which is his home state assembly district. I can't find the map with the results, but he's going to be very regional candidate. He's going to be a lot stronger, kind of in the. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the borough on live, but it's the closest to Pennsylvania or to New Jersey. Actually.
Staten Island.
No,
right?
Manhattan. Sorry, but he's going to be doing very well in his district, which I do not think is being reported right now. Manhattan is the one that I meant. Staten Island,
Right.
yeah, I always remember that one. But Manhattan is the one where he's going to be doing the best.
Okay, so by the look of things right now, things are not looking very good for someone like Andrew Yang. I mean, there's still precincts to still report. I don't think we have anything.
We're still only 1% in, but Yang
Right.
at 10% anywhere is not a good sign at all. Also, it's surprisingly. Then just take a look at this. Catherine Garcia is leading with 4.4K votes. That's nothing. Whoever wins this race is going to get well over 1 million votes. So, just
right, we have to remember that New York City is literally the largest city. There's over almost 14 million inhabitants, if I'm not correct. Right?
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
I think there's like 16 million metro or 8 million city proper.
Yeah. So.
Also, by the way, guys, thank you. We're at 60 viewers right now. Obviously, we expect that to get a little bigger as the night progresses, but please do leave a like and subscribe to Purple if you're not already. He makes good content, and let's try to get him to 2.5K as soon as we can.
And in that spirit, UEP has 90 subscribers left to get to a total of 5,000 subscribers, which would be a really big thing for him. If you can go over and subscribe to UEP's channel, that would be great. If you want, like, if you want to keep watching, be great. So please feel free to do that because you have some great content. And I just realized you guys can see me and I'm here moving my hands or whatever. Because you guys can only hear me. Okay. So yeah. As of right now, it's pretty early, but what I will say is that Catherine Garcia has a lot more of the early vote. Who knows? Because you also have to remember absentee ballots can go in 10 days after elections close, but that's going to be represented by more when we get to the 80%. We're going to get a standstill until we get a lot more of those votes. So I don't know if we
just put it out there. Paperboy Prince is third to last. He's still beating Isaac Wright and Joycelyn Taylor.
I think, yeah, hold on. I have to open this because now so we can see the rest of these candidates. There we go. So we can see, the top 4 is the only one that shows up on this on the New York Times. And then you have to open up and get the huge list. So you see, surprisingly, as of right now, but it's actually not that surprising because we still are missing a lot of votes from them. I think the Diane Morales is going to do very well in the Bronx. And I think she might do well in Brooklyn. But then, Sean Donovan just took a little bit of more votes, just 500 votes. So in the grand scheme of things, we're seeing Catherine Garcia at 30%. Eric Adams just took over the lead or the second place from Wiley. Andrew Yang is in 4th place with 14%. Scott Stringer, 6.4%. And from there, you're getting literally 20 votes, 32 votes. Paperboy Prince, 52 votes. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting to see Sean take the lead, amongst the rest of the of those voters. So, UP, what do you think about that? What's your take?
Yeah. So, again, we should not overanalyze these results at all because, like I said, Catherine Garcia's lead was just over 5,000 votes out of millions to be cast. But we should take a look at where these results are coming from. And I think Purple did a good job of reiterating this. We shouldn't overanalyze these results. Well, we can't just look at Andrew Yang underperforming and say, oh, it doesn't matter, because it does. And, we can look at exit polls, which I'm actually going to try to find right now. But Andrew Yang, if he's doing poorly, like right now, Andrew Yang is doing poorly, is doing worse than expected in Staten Island, for example. I thought he was going to win Staten Island. He's right now in 3rd place. That is not a good sign for him. So, just to put it out there, don't overanalyze these results, but you still have to remember to somewhat analyze them, I guess. Semi-analyze them.
Do you know the expected number of votes cast for this election?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, I can look at the 2020 presidential election in New York, and I do know that I think 3 out of every 4 New York residents. Hold on. Hold on, I'm doing some math right now. Purple, you can talk.
Yeah, well, he does that number because I want to see, because we have just less than 20,000 votes in right now, so we probably are waiting for a little bit more results. But I think that right now, let's just take a look where these votes are. So we're getting everywhere's less than 1%. We got, I think, interestingly enough, Queens has the closest race. I mean, Yang is right there next to Adams, almost there, 27-31. And then Garcia and Wiley split the other 26%, and Stringer takes 6%. You would expect the more conservative candidates to do well in Staten Island, because Staten Island at the most Republican part, right? And I think that in those Staten Island races, the people that will have won these Republicans races here have been Democrats who voted for the Republicans. I'm surprised that Andrew Yang, well, he's doing somewhat well in Staten Island. He has 18%. But Eric Adams ahead, and then Stringer and Wiley still are doing very well in those states.
So I finished crunching my numbers. As of right now, so in the 2020 election in New York, which is not great, but it's the best we have. So first of all, 2 out of every 3 New Yorkers live in the city, and we saw a similar thing where based on my math, which is very quick, I did it in 30 seconds, but basically, it's safe to assume that out of the, I think, 8.4 million votes cast in New York, around 5.2 or 3 million were cast from New York City. So we're not going to get that turnout from the city in a mayoral primary, but we could see the winner get, or in total maybe see 3 or 4 million votes cast, 4.5 million tops.
Well, yeah, I mean, I might have to agree with you there. I mean, I think that one of the things we do have to analyze for this race is it's going to be pretty high turnout, just because of the fact that it was so covered. It became such a thing. I mean, nationwide, this race really became a big political spectacle. So I think that a lot of people are going to end up, probably looking at this race and saying, wow, that's a little better than I expected. So at least when we're talking turnout,
Yeah, I think the turnout could be. I think the turnout is going to be a little higher than people think. I think my guess would be around 1.5 million to 2 million votes, but that's just me. That's my guess.
Yeah. Eric Adams just took the lead. That's a very big. We have a big update from this race.
Whoa.
He just took the lead, and the New York Times, of course, there you go.
The leads are going to flip around a lot, and we still have less than 1% of the vote in.
Yeah, this is insane. We're going to see this, go up and down all night long. Let's see if this, oh my God. The New York Times would collaborate with me. Let me stop sharing. UP, can you try sharing your screen? Let me start the video so you guys just don't see anything. There we go. UP, can you start sharing your screen?
Let me try. Oops. Okay, it does not say I can share my screen right now. Let me try to fix that. What issue are we having right now? Maybe I can entertain the viewers.
Okay, hold on. I think I got it back. Hold on. Right. Let me just screen share the New York Times tab. I'm really sorry, guys, for that cut in the. Let me see. I think we're back. Are we back? Can you see it? Can you guys write in the chat? I think oh, oops, I haven't put this in the stream. Sorry. There you go. Let's hide our videos.
There is a bit of a delay.
So I can see the results.
There's about a 5-second delay.
And you guys. So yeah, please keep that in mind. 337 or 337. Look at me. 33.7 for Eric Adams right now. Catherine Garcia at 19.6. So yeah, pretty much Eric Adams doubled his lead, and now, well, I mean, was he leaving? Like, he didn't double his lead, he doubled his votes, and we just got a big batch of votes again. Things changed. I couldn't even tell you about the other one. Eric Adams 26%, Catherine Garcia at 25, Maya Wiley at 18, Andrew Yang at 13.4. Andrew Yang is massively underperforming, and as we can see, Adams has taken the lead in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx. Catherine Garcia now has the lead in Manhattan and in Staten Island. I think this is actually not surprising. I really, one of Garcia's strong points was going to be Manhattan. As far as Queens, Brooklyn, and Bronx, which are the working class neighborhoods of New York City, we expected Adams to do well there. I mean, look at Adams in the Bronx. He's taking 48% of the vote right now. That's pretty big in my opinion. So yeah, and Maya Wiley's actually doing pretty well too. She's holding up in Manhattan. She's doing pretty well. She's holding about 20% in each of the boroughs except in Staten Island. So that's actually really good for Maya Wiley. And this is again the the um, the current results. There you go. Yeah. Right now we're currently looking at very interesting results from this race. Massively underperforming is Andrew Yang. I mean, Andrew Yang is completely underperforming to levels that I did not think were possible. I really thought this was Andrew Yang's race to win. I thought that, this was Andrew Yang's possibility to come through and get his name on the political stage, gain some political experience to, in the future, run for governor, run for something that would launch him to become president of the United States. I really think that was something interesting. New Netherlands asked if we're going to look at the New York, the Republican primary. Be sure we can. It's not as interesting as this one. So
Yeah,
this
because
race, we have
because realistically, the Republicans are not going to win this race. Just being real.
right. So we have Curtis Silva versus Fernando Mateo. Just so you know, Curtis Silva is the more famous. He got the big endorsement from Nicole Maliotakis, the Republican representative from New York City. So he's currently leading the race in for the Republican primary, 74.3 to 25.7. So then
Yeah,
go ahead.
I said he was going to win the nomination, and Maliotakis has influence because, like Purple said, she's the only Republican congresswoman from New York City. She also actually won a competitive House seat in 2020. She was I know I had her winning by I think 3, but she won by she flipped a House seat for the GOP that was held by Max Rose, based in kind of Staten Island area, and she won that seat. So that was a good pickup for her, and I think the Republican Party has a lot of respect for her. She also did run a citywide campaign. She actually was the Republican nominee for mayor of NYC in 2017. She lost to Bill DeBlasio by a lot, but
yeah,
she does have influence over the Republican Party in New York City, as well as the electorate, especially in Staten Island, which is their strongest borough.
Yeah, Bill de Blasio, interestingly enough, hasn't taken any stances on this race. I was reading Twitter earlier today, right before we came on live, and it was saying that literally Bill de Blasio was crapping his pants because he really did not know who was going to win. So Bill de Blasio, this is going to be, this is the end of the Bill de Blasio era in New York. And for him, he doesn't really care who it is because, Bill de Blasio is liked, but then he's also not as liked in New York. I think that a lot of New Yorkers have gained some disrespect for Bill de Blasio, and certainly he isn't as popular as he once was, and especially when he was first elected. And I think over the next couple of years, we're going to end up seeing the rise of the actual liberal New York City. It's little by little, but New York City has started gaining the actual liberal movement that once wasn't there, because we saw there was mostly Republican mayors. We saw era of Bloomberg, an area of Rudy Giuliani, who, at this point in time, New York is shifting and we're seeing a brand new race. UEP, do you want to talk about the new numbers we have?
Sure. So we just got some updates on New York Times, at least I did. So Eric Adams extended his lead, and we now have around 2% of the vote in. So that's good. We're making progress. Right now, Eric Adams has a 5,000 vote lead with 53,000 votes as of right now. Kathy Garcia in second, Maya Wiley in third. And we haven't really seen this shakeup. And this primary, I'll admit it, is not going to be as regional as I thought it was going to be. But realistically, we're still going to see the top 3 we're seeing right now: Adams, Garcia, Wiley. Yang is still 10% behind Maya Wiley. I don't think he's going to come in fourth by 10%. Right, because voting could help him out, especially with him and Garcia kind of having similar voters. But that's still a bad sign for him. And I think Yang right now being closer to Scott Stringer than Maya Wiley is really, really not a good sign for him. And just to briefly point it out here, Eric Adams' best borough right now. I'm in Manhattan. In the Bronx. I don't know why I said Manhattan. The Bronx is his best borough. He's winning that by more than double. He has 45% of the vote. He has more than double the amount of votes as this person in second, Maya Wiley, which I think makes sense. We knew Eric Adams was going to be doing well in the Bronx, but just still he outperformed my expectations. So Eric Adams right now favored to be the next mayor of New York City. again, things could change. We only have 2% of the vote in, but not a good sign for Andrew Yang, especially, and not a good sign for it's more a good sign for Eric Adams. Obviously, you'd always rather be winning, but he's doing well right now.
Right. I would say that one of the big things is for Catherine Garcia, her first borough has 8% reporting. Again, grand scheme of things, 8% is still very little, but once we get further into the further parts of the race, this is gonna end up biting Garcia when she's gonna need those bare numbers to go out and beat Eric Adams. She might not get that because Eric Adams is leading decisively in the Bronx. He's leading decisively in Queens. Brooklyn is a lot closer, and Staten Island is closer. I'm seeing these results, and I'm saying Andrew Yang is underperforming. He's 10 points behind Maya Wiley in Brooklyn. He is, another 12 points or 12 points behind Maya Wiley in Manhattan. In Queens, he's, more competitive. In Brooklyn, in the Bronx, he's way far behind. And Staten Island, he still falls in the second tier of candidates. So, not a very good night for Andrew Yang at the time. Yeah, I don't think that it's very good for him. So let's take a look at the rest of the candidates. How are they doing?
Yang is doing a little better. I think Yang is about to take a lead in Queens, I think.
But in the grand scheme of things, take a lead in Queens. He is. Wait, let me see.
Wait, no, sorry, no.
He's gonna.
I misread that, but he's catching up in Queens.
Right. Right now, these are the.
My bad. Wait. Oh, hold. Let's check the chat because we haven't. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it seems like the majority of our viewers are supporting Andrew Yang. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and by the way, I will we will I think Purple mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but you'll get a shout out on the community tab if you do a super chat, and we're definitely going to respond to it. We have one super chat so far. So yeah.
Thank you so much for the super chat. That was great. So we'll give you a shout out on the community tab. So that's gonna be great. Thank you guys so much. So
truth teller. Wait, no, hold on. Can we have a question real quick? Truth teller says, "Do you think we'll get a good idea in 4 hours?" We'll have certainly a better idea than right now, but New York Times says that ranked choice vote counts not expect till June 29th. We're not going to know who's going to win until then. So tonight we're going to get a good idea of who's going to be potentially vying for the mayoral election. Like, people are going to be eliminated for sure. Like, we're going to see, right now Diane Morales at 2% of the vote. She's definitely not going to win if she finishes there, but we'll have a better idea, but still not great.
Right. At this point in time, I am really surprised with how horribly Andrew Yang has been doing. I mean, unfortunately for Andrew Yang,
this is bad for him. I'll be real. Andrew Yang this is a tough night to be supporting Andrew Yang right now.
Right. For Andrew Yang, he's gonna have to deal with the in the future with the repercussions of this. And I don't think we're seeing that many more votes. So I'm gonna just for a second show our faces so we can talk about this. So UEP, currently, what do you think about Andrew Yang's underperformance? Like, what do you think is this going to cost him in the future?
Well, okay, first of all, if Andrew Yang cannot win a mayoral primary, he cannot win a presidential election. There was a lot of hype for him, and I think there's both the Democratic primary and in the in this election, but talking about the Democratic primary, he had a lot of support, but the support was mostly from, I guess you could say, his support was more online. Like, we're talking about the Yang Gang. The Yang Gang was a predominantly online group. He had more, like, based on what he saw online, you would have thought Yang had more support online when, like, you go to the Iowa caucuses last February, no one, a lot of people didn't even know who he was. So the support that we saw for Yang on Twitter or whatever online may not have been reflective of the electorate. Because remember, New York City is still a liberal place, and I'm sure that a lot of them knew who Andrew Yang was, and he had the best name recognition. But there's still realistically people who didn't know enough about him to come out and vote for him. And I think his underperformance is because, not enough people turned out for him. He's probably not going to win this race. Could he win? Yes. Don't think he's going to win right now. but his support came from a lot of either progressives or Trump supporters. And if in being real, if the Trump supporters who weren't favorable to Yang didn't come out to vote for him in Staten Island or whatever, they weren't. He was not going to have a good chance of winning this race. So Andrew Yang, as of right now, not doing well, and I think it's mostly because he didn't get the right people to turn out.
Right.
Turnout, it could be good for Democrats, but he did not get the right people.
I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I mean, I think that Andrew Yang, one of the big things that he has a weird base, because you would expect him either to have a very left wing part of the party, or like a right wing part of the party, but he has a big mix of voters, and I think he has like a general appeal. If this was a contested race, that it was very close to Republicans and Democrats were head to head, someone like Andrew Yang might actually be beneficial for them to run. But in a race that they're gonna run away with, like, why even bother? And I think at this point it shows this is a big middle finger to like Andrew Yang and his political movement. So I think that's something that is a little sad, because Andrew Yang had a lot of momentum. But yeah, I think that's where we currently stand. And let's update these results. Let's see what the current vote totals are. We're getting a little bit more of votes. The lead continues. Andrew Yang is getting a little bit more vote. He's, improved by decimal points. Very big underperformance currently by Diane Morales and Sean Donovan and Ray McGuire as well. And Scott Stringer is massively underperforming. I really think that one of the big things we're seeing, we didn't get to show you guys, but the polling data that we did have, Scott Stringer's votes were around 7 or 8%, and my Wiley's were only at the 17% mark. What we're seeing currently, and I think as we go forward in the night, we're going to see more and more and more of this, that a lot of those voters that originally could have been voting for Scott Stringer are moving towards Maya Wiley. And I think at the end of the day, for Maya Wiley, Scott Stringer having that harassment scandal and all of that is going to be such a big benefit for Maya Wiley. UEP, do you agree?
Yeah, just to briefly address some stuff in the chat. Right now in the Manhattan District Attorney race, someone asked about that. Alvin Bragg is winning that race by around 7%. Weinstein's in second. And surprisingly, Court and Orleans, with Army's third and fourth, are really behind right now. So Alvin Bragg on track to win that race.
Yeah, I mean, let's quickly touch on that race and its importance. The district attorney race in this case really holds certain amount of weight because of the mere fact that this is Trump investigation central. Coming off from the Trump administration, I think one of the big things Democrats wants to do, especially the people running for this race, and the big debate is, how are you going to get Trump in jail? How are we going to get him something? So how are we going to screw over Trump, whether it is digging into stuff way before? I think that's one of the things we're going to see from this race. And I think at the end of the day, that's why this race matters. Currently the race has, let's just go quickly to that district attorney race. Like you were saying, the race is a little bit closer. Bragg is leading somewhat considerably compared to Weinstein. And let's take a look at the results by
this is a bit
borough.
of an underperformance for Weinstein as of right now.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the results by borough, UEP?
For district attorney, Manhattan?
Or for the mayoral race?
Oh, because I was like, wait a minute, I don't have those results. Okay, so yeah, so as of right now, starting with Brooklyn, I guess we'll just say I call it Kings, but Brooklyn is fine either way. So right now, Eric Adams leads in Brooklyn, and I believe if I'm not wrong, and I should pull this up, and I'll pull this up in a second, but I think Brooklyn has the most has the highest percentage of black voters in New York City. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's true. And Eric Adams does have the benefit of being because and I've said this before. Black voters are a more socially moderate bloc of the Democratic Party. They vote Democrat because they're more economically liberal, but they're still socially moderate. And I think Eric Adams embodies that, and he has the ability to not kind of turn off older black voters, I guess, with his, because he's not really an anti-police Democrat the way other Democrats are. So he has that going for him. He's also leading in Queens, Bronx, as well as Staten Island, because I think he has that moderate appeal that Yang, we thought he had, I guess, but right now Adams is taking that away from him. Manhattan is the only district that Eric Adams is not winning in. Catherine Garcia winning there. I think we all knew that was coming, though. We're all kind of expecting Manhattan to go for Catherine Garcia. And yeah, Maya Wiley is in second, I think, in all of these. She's in second in every single borough, which is kind of weird, but with ranked choice voting, it's not going to hurt. No, she's in third in Staten Island, but she's second in every single borough except for Staten Island, which so not bad with ranked choice voting. Andrew Yang is consistently in fourth. Scott Stringer's best borough is Staten Island. I don't really know why that is, but that's his best borough. And then the other candidates are just really running behind. We see behind Scott Stringer, we have Ray McGuire, who is not really even in the top five in any borough.
Right.
And then we see Sean Donovan.
We just got a little bit more votes. It's minor, but the percentages did shift a little bit. Now,
Adams expanded his lead.
Right. Adams expanded his lead. Wow. Who took the hit? Andrew Yang, right? He took 4% off.
Yeah, Yang took a bit off. I think Garcia lost like a point or something.
Right. Okay. So I want to reiterate that
this is aging. By the way, this my prediction that Eric Adams was going to win is aging very well as of right now.
Right. I really like. I think Eric Adams. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily aging very well because remember, we're gonna have to go through the elimination. So since this is a huge primary field, you're gonna have to eliminate all these people. I mean, it's gonna that have like less votes. So you're gonna have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds before you get to the candidate to have at least 1%. So and they're gonna this is gonna take a real long time to see. These votes are really not nothing. They're what? They in total add up to what 3,500 votes, 3,800. Where we start getting to the
it's still.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, go. Sorry.
When we start getting to the real meat and potatoes of the race, when we start getting to Diane Morales, those voters are going to start splitting, and the real big splitting of votes in this primary is going to end up when we get to the Andrew Yang sector. Where are those voters going to go? If let's suppose that with this scenario. Let's suppose that 75% of Andrew Yang's voters go to Catherine Garcia. She takes the lead, if I'm correct. And then the other two split, 50-50 of the rest. So ranked choice voting is going to have somewhat of an effect. And I think that's something that we definitely should analyze. UEP, do you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with you right now. But it's still worth noting, 20 minutes ago or whatever, what time is it? It's 6:33 on the West Coast. 20 minutes ago, it was when we just saw that, only 1% of the vote was in. We could disregard the results, but right now we still have what I think you said, 350,000 votes in. I think that's more than 8%. First of all, I think that's a lot more than 8%. And second, these votes are going to be indicative of what's to come. So right now, I think Andrew Yang getting really bad results. Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia, as well as Maya Wiley, are getting the results they want. And again, you can say that just off of reading the results because again, you'd always rather be leading. But Adams right now, and according to the New York Times website, as you can see, kind of on the side, it's Jeff Mays says the crowd at Eric Adams' party is cheering loudly. So Adams right now favored to win this race. So just thought I'd interject there, but I'll let Purple get back to what he was saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this very clear, and I think it's something that we should definitely talk about is that Catherine Garcia still has, I think, a pretty noticeable path. She is currently 5% behind, but unless Maya Wiley, which it's still possible, I think that once Scott Stringer gets eliminated, a big chunk of those votes, the first choice votes that were for Scott Stringer, and something else I want to point, 8% of the reporting. This is a very big amount. But once we get a lot of those votes from Scott Stringer, that when he's eliminated, a lot of the votes are going to go for Maya Wiley. Then what's going to be the question? Does Catherine Garcia get eliminated before Maya Wiley? If Maya Wiley, beats Catherine Garcia and goes to the second round, to the last round, because I think right now what we're looking at is a race of who's going to go against Adams. And whoever it is, it depends. If Maya Wiley is the eliminated person, between Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia, who do you think is going to take more of the votes, UEP?
It really depends because I'd have to see which percentage of the vote is in from each borough. I'm not sure. I guess that Kathleen Garcia, or that Maya Wiley, excuse me, is going to finish a little bit ahead of Kathleen Garcia, but I could be wrong, of course. And I think that in terms of the raw vote, Wiley could finish ahead. We could easily see Kathleen Garcia win off of ranked choice voting alone. So really close, but I'll go with Wiley right now. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that the thing about these ranked choice of voting elections, and I've seen a lot of questions about this in the chat, is that this is something relatively new to the United States. We really haven't seen this at a real competitive standpoint like this, where you have 14 candidates in one race, which is completely ridiculous. I mean, having these many candidates with an actual possibility of winning is, a lot. So we've seen this at a minor scale. We saw this in, like QEP was saying, in the main races during the 2020 election. I must say though that it's going to take a long time to actually declare a winner. What we're going to be able to do tonight, and possibly for the next couple of days until they actually start eliminating people, is that we're going to start being able to say, we're going to start to speculate. Well, Andrew Yang, he has a little bit less support, so maybe he could take over those votes, or who can take over those votes. Because other than that, I think it's going to be really hard to actually predict and project a winner tonight. And I think one thing is very clear. And the New York Times says right there, the city has already announced that they're going to announce a proper winner, by or, at the least June 29th, because there's so many races. And I think it's very important to keep in mind that. And I think that the ranked choice voting is going to play an influential part of this election. But, I'm looking at these results right now, and I'm saying with 200,000 votes in, Eric Adams has a 10,000 vote lead, which it's actually somewhat considerable considering there's 13 candidates. So, UP, do you agree with that? What's your current take on these latest results?
I'll be first of all, Yang being the most well candidate in this race. This is terrible for him. And on Twitter, I was on Twitter right now while you were talking. Dave Wasserman, who is kind of makes premature calls, I guess, on races. He's not wrong. He just makes them a little before. He says, "I've seen enough. Andrew Yang will not be the next mayor of New York City." So really bad for Andrew Yang, of course. And we've been saying this for the past 20 minutes that Yang is running is in trouble. But I think that it speaks more to, and I don't want to get into this too much, but more left-wing voters are not turning out to vote, and we're learning this. So we saw in 2020 Democratic primaries, Bernie Sanders, a lot of his voters, it may have seemed like he was going to win by a lot if you spent all your time on Twitter, but realistically speaking, a lot of his voters did not come out to vote. And why this is, I'm not sure. I don't want to get into it too much, but Yang and Sanders shared a lot of the same voters, and they didn't come out for Andrew Yang. He didn't get the right people to come out. Whereas Eric Adams, who ran a more moderate campaign, is getting the voters he needs to come out and is winning by 10,000 votes right now, just to put it out there.
Right. So I think that one of the big things is that the identity politics has become such a big thing in the Democratic Party. The Republicans are starting to implement it, but it's been a very big thing, influential in Democratic races over the last couple of years. That in this race, you're seeing a lot of that identity politics, take shape. And I think the more elite Democratic district comes, even though it might not be of, the certain demographic that a candidate might be, like, the Democrats are really taking the identity politics really seriously. And, when Andrew Yang came out with those attacks against identity politics, that really hurt him at the end of the day. And I think that is something that we definitely must acknowledge. And I think someone like Kathleen Garcia, who, again, has an advantage when it comes to identity politics. She's a woman. She's doing very well I would say the more wealthiest part of the city, which is Manhattan. So, yeah, at this point, this New York race is looking very, very interesting. And without a doubt, it's been a little bit of a shockful night. I wasn't really expecting Andrew Yang to underperform by this much. And, I think that the big thing we're seeing is a surge of Maya Wiley. Maya Wiley got last-minute endorsements 2 weeks ago, a week ago, which really helped her out in this race. Maya Wiley probably wasn't going to end up ranking in the top 3 if you asked us 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, but I think the biggest thing that have helped her is, Diane Morales's, flunks in the debates. Coming off a little bit as a bad candidate. And I think another thing that has really been helping here is Scott Stringer's fall, and then all the progressive endorsements. All those votes. I think the 20% of the vote that Scott Stringer was once going to take is now with Maya Wiley. UEP, do you agree with that call?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, Stringer. AOC saying that she ranked Stringer behind Maya Wiley. Stringer is not a moderate. His platform is quite a progressive platform, and the voters that would have ranked him first are going for Maya Wiley, like you said. It's whether it be due to his scandal or identity politics, we're not really sure, but that is costing Scott Stringer, who's in fifth, Andrew Yang in fourth. We talked about him. So it is really coming down to Wiley, Garcia, and Adams. But I guess my question for you is: do you think that realistically, right now, our tier one candidates are doing basically the order we ranked them in: Adams, Garcia, Wiley, and then Yang, which is pretty cool. I mean, it would be cool if we got this race right down to the top 8. But do you think that anyone realistically could come in the top 4, who's not in Andrew Yang? I mean, do you think Stringer has a chance of doing that? Because, like we said, at the end of the day, him and Wiley are showing a lot of the same voters. So we could see, when you look at ranked choice voting, Stringer doing better than originally expected.
So yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing is that I think at the end of the day, what's really gonna be bad for Stringer is that he's gonna be sandwiched between Diane Morales and Maya Wiley for that progressive vote. So I mean, I think a lot of Diane Morales voters, which is gonna be the first early votes that are gonna be transferred over to Maya Wiley. Scott Stringer is not gonna be enough for him to save himself. I just think that at this point, the biggest gift is for Maya Wiley if Scott Stringer gets eliminated, then Andrew Yang, and then her, so that way she could possibly take over Catherine Garcia. And then when the final results come in, I think that a lot of those Catherine Garcia voters are going to probably end up going for Eric Adams. I'm reading the chat right now, and I've got a request to go to the controller race. People were asking for the controller race. Let's take a.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna head out.
Comptroller. I thought it was controller.
Yeah, comptroller.
Here it is.
And I'll be back.
Johnson are 15 points separating each other. Comptroller. Yeah. So that's what we have currently, Lander and Johnson. Let's just take a look at some of these other races. Supervisors. These are other counties. Schaefer, Martin. What's the con party? Is that the Conservative Party, or is it just me making up stuff? Can you look that up, UEP? Because I'm not sure about that. Or someone in the chat could tell us what the con party is. Then Nassau County, which is Long Island, you see those races. Comptroller, pretty close right now. City Council, we have one race that has been called, but it's because it was uncontested. Charbroth in the lead. Borough presidents, I think the big races that we're really looking into is this race. Weinstein is getting back a little bit. But the big race we do care about, and the big race for this race is definitely the race for mayor, and we're seeing the results right now coming in live. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, we've been pretty stuck with vote counting. We haven't got any new results. Let me refresh the tab to see if we can.
Maybe we can talk about some other stuff like 2022 while we're waiting for these new results to come in.
Right. Yeah. So I want to see actually let's check in with the chat.
Chat. Interesting. Okay.
You guys, if you really are enjoying our work today, if you can, please, if you can, if you would like to, please feel free to give us a super chat. Super chats are a great way to support our channels, and we would really appreciate it. And again, you can get a shout out from us in our community tabs, which is going to be a great opportunity.
Yeah, it would be a huge help, and any super chats you want, and just because, that's going the extra mile. Watching our videos, really thank you for tuning in to watch this video.
Yeah. As of right now, we really don't have more results from 14 minutes ago. We should be getting a new batch of results probably within the next 5 minutes. I think it's about time. So let's see. Let's read some of these chat questions. This election makes you question the idea of democracy itself, and the fact that Ian got 10% demonstrates that there are factors in play that we don't know about in a winning election. I think it's more of that Andrew Yang really went kind of a little bit unnoticed in a way that everyone thought that he was going to do so great because, he's Andrew Yang and everyone knows who he is. I think it's more that rather than the unknown factors. But, elections really have a lot more factors than people think. And to win an election and do it effectively, you're going to need to have certain things. And I think, unfortunately for Andrew Yang, he wasn't able to do that. And these results are such a good example of that. And I think right now we just got a brand new results. Huey P, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, we just got some new results in. Eric Adams has expanded his lead. He was up, I think, 4 or 5% before. He's now up to over 6% lead. And we see a 15,000 vote lead for Eric Adams, his largest of the night. Maya Wiley fell a little bit, I think, by under a point. She is trailing Catherine Garcia by 6,000 votes. 20.5% of the vote for Maya Wiley, 23% for Catherine Garcia, 29% for Eric Adams. Andrew Yang, not looking for him, he's still at 12% of the vote right now. So Scott Stringer has not moved at all. Yeah, I mean, Yang improved by a point, but it's basically, I would not be happy if I'm Andrew Yang right now. We're not really getting updates from his office or anything on Twitter, on social media. So, yeah, Scott Stringer as of right now, 6%, and everything else is below 3%. So we're focusing on Eric Adams, Catherine Garcia, and Maya Wiley. So I think we should kind of pivot away from Stringer, Yang, and those, the people under 12%, and take a look at where Garcia and Wiley are doing well.
UP, I'm really shocked by Andrew Yang's underperformance, and I think Andrew Yang's underperformance might be the biggest skip for Catherine Garcia. Because Catherine Garcia...
absolutely. She lucked out here.
Yeah, she got lucked out here in the sense that she got a complete endorsement from Yang. And Yang, she didn't return the favor for Yang, which at the end of the day, it was really not going to matter. I think it's gonna end up being like, with these races, these half endorsements are literally like you're dropping out of the race. I think that what's really gonna hurt Andrew Yang here is that, I think if this was a normal primary when you would have actually built up stuff, this primary completely shifted in the last week and a half. I think that's when we completely saw everything turn on its head for Yang. I mean, it's been in the last week where Yang's completely gone down completely. And I think that these results are an example of that because Andrew Yang was expected to get around 20% of the vote around 2 weeks ago. But then he had scandals, he had, bad campaigning, media gaffes, and Maya Wiley really just skyrocketed up. And Catherine Garcia got the New York Times endorsement, no more, no less than the biggest newspaper in the whole city, in the whole country, who is the hometown newspaper. Catherine Garcia got endorsed. And I think at the end of the day, that's what really hurt Andrew Yang in this primary.
Absolutely. I mean, like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was huge for Catherine Garcia. She was going to finish. Realistically, she was viewed as, up until a couple of weeks ago, she was viewed as the trash chief who was just going to take votes away from Andrew Yang. Now she's in second place. Now she's on track to do very well in this race, potentially win this race if it's not Eric Adams. And really, she's the only candidate here who is getting votes kind of really from everyone. Like Garcia, there are probably a lot of Adams voters who are going for Garcia because she hasn't pinned herself to the progressive left or to the more moderate block of the party. She's getting Wiley voters. She's getting Yang voters because Yang did say to rank her second. So, if we're learning anything from here, it's don't play to one side. I can label, and this is, by the way, this is what you can see for the 2022 as well with the Republican primaries. And we don't get into that in a second because I don't want to talk too much here, but it is terrible politics to label yourself as a progressive or a moderate in a primary when all Catherine Garcia had to do and what she did, she was the only candidate to do this. She got votes from both sides, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to help her with ranked choice voting. She's getting votes from moderates who maybe also supported Eric Adams as well. She's getting votes from progressives who supported maybe Maya Wiley, or even people who like Diane Morales. But knew that she was going to perform poorly, so voted for Catherine Garcia. So she did that, and that's why she's doing so well in space, and that's why she's outperforming Andrew Yang. And this is what the Republican Party has to do in 2022. We talk about, and I talk about this a lot. I think that the reason that they're not in as good of a midterm position as the locked-out party usually would be is because they're so divided. Between the suburban Romney-esque Republicans who can do better in moderate suburbs, and then the populist, rural, working-class Trump supporters. So this is what the GOP has to do in 2022, and Catherine Garcia is displaying how she can do it in 2021.
I agree with that. I wanna highlight a comment I'm seeing in the chat by username Black Caucus, and he's saying that a vote for Yang is also a vote for or Adams is a vote for billionaires backing their campaign, and I completely agree. Looking at the sense of New York City, you have to think these two candidates are completely backed by New York business. And I think without them, I think Eric Adams wouldn't be where he is today. I think Eric Adams is slightly, more like people-oriented and an outsider compared, but he's still been in politics in New York. And that's why I think that if you're looking for a real outsider, Wiley is the best candidate to go. I'm not usually into very far left and liberal, very liberal. Like, I consider Wiley in one of you, like, too far left for my liking. And I really like her because she is an outsider. And I think overall, that's something that we should definitely take a look at. UEP, I want to ask you a question. What specifically do you think mostly contributes to Yang's underperformance tonight?
Well, like I said earlier in the night, he's not getting the voters he needs to get out to come out and vote for him. People are coming out to vote. We're already seeing definitely higher turnout than what 2017 as expected, but we're still realistically talking about a race that Andrew Yang is going to lose because he did not get the right voters, and he's still going to get 12% of the vote around because mostly of his name recognition. But he did not get the progressives he needed to get out. He did not get the Trump supporters that he claimed that he could appeal to out, and for that reason, he's doing poorly. He's behind. He's what 8.7% behind the next closest candidate. This is. I think someone in chat said everything that's going wrong for Yang is going wrong
for Yang. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. Everything is going wrong for Yang. And I think at the end of the day, I don't want to really get into this topic in the stream because, one, I don't think it's something that should be talked about and discussed. But I think that at a political level, it's not such a pretty thing to talk about. And that's the Israel-Palestine conflict. There's a lot of deaths. There's a lot of things involved. So that's why I don't want to get too much into it in this primary. But at the end of the day, I think that's what really hurt Yang. He really parted away from his party. There's arguments on both sides of who's right and who's wrong. But I think if you're thinking politically, he got the Orthodox Jew voters. But other than that, what does he have?
Oh, well, I'll just point this out. I saw this on Twitter. Interesting stat. As of right now, in the precincts in the precincts in the Bronx, just in the Bronx, that had double-digit swings towards Trump, Andrew Yang was supposed to win those precincts by a lot. Eric Adams is going to win those. So we're seeing Eric, like I said, Eric Adams taking a lot of Andrew Yang voters. And I think it's because, maybe hear me. Maybe Andrew Yang isn't this, person who can appeal to Trump to Trump supporters, the way that people online maybe said. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade at Andrew Yang or his supporters, but there was a notion, there was a lot of hype. Even today, back 2019, when he was running the Democratic primary for president, that he was the only Democrat that could appeal to Trump supporters. Since then, Joe Biden got the nomination. He did just enough to win the presidency, and Andrew Yang apparently did not do that in the primary. And if any Trump supporters came out to vote, they were most likely coming out to vote for Eric Adams.
Right. I think that at the end of the day, what really hurt Yang was,
Susan Collins fan is epic. What's up, Susan Collins fan?
Yeah. What I think is the big deal breaker for Andrew Yang, other things that I mentioned is it's just media. And I think this reiterates a thing I've been saying in my videos lately. that you have to count media into your predictions. You have to count media when you forecast elections, because at this point, the media has become such a strong actor in politics where they can influence absolutely anything that, if you don't have the media on your side to certain levels, I mean, you're going to get completely screwed. If Andrew Yang had media support, big support from somewhere like the New York Times, he probably could have gotten away with some of the little gaffes that he did have. But, I think that really hurt Andrew Yang, that he didn't have media support. So that's what I think right there. I think at this point in time, this race is, to a certain point, a little bit more closer than I thought. And I think closer than I thought in the bottoms here. That's what I'm trying to say. That I think that Maya Wiley is, heavily overperforming what she was expected to do. But I think the biggest thing, like I've been saying, is Andrew Yang horrible tonight. And I think what people are gonna get off tonight is not as much of someone like it's not as much of Eric Adams or Catherine Garcia or someone like Maya Wiley doing super well. It's more of an Andrew Yang doing so horribly, and I think that is one of the things that we're going to see over the night. I know that in the chat we have a lot of Andrew Yang supporters, so there's still possibility. Maybe, who knows, there's the wrong precincts that are right now. Definitely a possibility. It could happen, but I think it's also pointing to the view that maybe at this point in time, it's maybe not meant to be for Yang. And this is shocking because Andrew Yang had the support for the from everyone to win the mayoral race back, when he first announced. And I think it's very interesting. And
I just saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hold on. Dave Wasserman on Twitter, a verified user, says at this point it's very likely that Eric Adams wins this race because of ranked choice voting. It'll be hard unless we see some comeback from Catherine Garcia for her to win this race. Now, obviously, we're not going to call this race anytime soon, just to put that out there. So Eric Adams obviously favored right now. Also, just to talk about Andrew Yang for a second. I know I said earlier that we shouldn't talk about him too much, but we're talking about how bad of a campaign he ran. He went into this race with a double-digit lead, had all the name recognition in the world, and blew it. It wasn't really like a big scandal that blew from like we saw for Scott Stringer. He blew it in slow motion with a series of remarks in debates or at rallies or campaigning that turned a lot of people off and slowly turned a couple voters away from him every day. A couple voters turned away from Andrew Yang. And if this election were held in February or January 2021, a couple of months ago, he would have won by a lot. But with his bad campaign, that shows that you can blow a lead, not with just one scandal, but with really bad remarks consistently. That shows kind of what has happened to a lot of campaigns and what went wrong for Andrew Yang.
So yeah, I mean, I think that at this point the race is definitely it's surprising. Now, I think that one of the big things is that Catherine Garcia certainly does have, she has a definitely a weird appeal because she definitely could have some more conservative appeal to a certain extent. Like, she is essentially complete center when it comes to this primary. She appeals to some liberal voters. She appeals to some of the more right-wing voters. And I think it's something that's really going to help her when it comes to this primary. And I think, if anything, I think one of the things we haven't checked is, we just got brand new results. UEP, take over that. But I want to check first. Well, how are the results in the Brooklyn? Okay, we just got a bunch of results. How many percentage of the whole race are we in?
It says 30%. Oh,
we got 30% of the vote.
I'm guessing over a third of the vote is in. And Adams wow. Catherine Garcia just brought this. Whoa. Adams is only winning by 4. He was up by 7 a minute ago. He's now up by 4. Okay, this could be a lot.
We have breaking news, guys. Breaking news. The race has completely been altered. Okay, no, I'm kidding. But realistically, yeah, we just got a big dump of votes. What does this tell us? Catherine Garcia still has a chance. Where did these votes come from? Let's see. I think these votes mostly came from, Manhattan is 56% reporting. Staten Island, more small, but 50% reporting. And then the Bronx and Queens have 37 and 34 respectively. Wow. Very big moment for.
Oh, by the way,
Yes, go ahead.
two things. I think both me and Purple are ready to call a minor race, and we're ready to call the Republican primary for mayor of New York
Go ahead.
for Curtis Slua. He's 72% of the vote, and there's no reason why he's going to lose, and he was expected to win by a lot. Just to call that. So, anyone curious about the Republican primary for this race?
It's already been
Curtis Slua likely to win. The New York Times hasn't called it, but we're calling it here.
We're calling it because I think at this point in time, it's too obvious, like with the amount of votes left. And I think at the end of the day, it's a minor race when it comes to this primary night.
People in the chat are Harold Brick in chat says Jeb will win the primary because he is Jeb and because he is built different. That's facts. That's facts.
Let's see. How is Tiffany Cabin doing for seat New York City Council District 22? Let's go to district. Let's just check that race. Oh, we have to view all. You said District 22. Who did he want to see? Cabin? Yeah, she's leading. 49 to 26. There you have it. Yeah. These results that just came in, I think, tell us a couple things that Catherine Garcia is slightly improving as the night progresses. I think it just might be that certain precincts that maybe were, like, you know, a little bit different for or that would have been more in favor for Garcia still hadn't come in. So at this point, we already have it. So Catherine Garcia is increasing her lead narrowly. I mean, 3 points. But again, 3 points in such a tight and big fielded race is actually considerable. So I think that we're seeing a pretty good sign for Garcia. Now, my question is, for Maya Wiley, what does this mean for Maya Wiley? I think that what this means for Maya Wiley is that she's going to have to end up, you know, balancing out to a certain extent, like is she going to be able to, go back with the ranked choice voting and the rest of the votes? I think that a lot of Scott's votes are going to end up going to her, and that might actually put her over the edge because it's a 6 point difference almost between, or 7 point difference between Eric Adams and Maya Wiley. It's a 4 point difference between, it's a near 4 point difference between Wiley and Garcia, and it's exactly 4 point difference between Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia. So I think that is very interesting.
Eric Adams is at this point, like I say, he's like a 95% chance of winning the first round votes. And again, that doesn't mean that he's going to be the next mayor, but right now, it's not likely that he doesn't get the most vote. Excuse me, I don't know why I stutter. Right now it's likely that he wins, that he gets the most votes in the first round, but with ranked choice voting, that throws a whole nother aspect into the window. Whoa, we just got a huge update. Adams has expanded his lead to 8.6%.
Wow, this is a big lead.
His lead just doubled. His lead just doubled.
Wow, this was
and now half the vote is in. 52% of the vote is in. That's huge.
This is a huge update, guys. For Adrian, Adrian went up a point. They're almost a point, which is pretty good for him.
I mean, yeah, but not really gonna happen anything.
Let's check down here. We haven't checked down here in a little bit. This is gonna be pretty good for Maya Wiley with this.
Stringer fell.
Yeah, for Maya Wiley, this is going to be very good. That's 5% of the vote. Let's just suppose that these 7% of the votes, let's just suppose that 5% of it goes to Maya Wiley. She would be in second place. I think that Maya Wiley might overtake Catherine Garcia before Andrew Yang gets eliminated, and then when Andrew Yang gets eliminated, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. I don't know how much of this vote Eric Adams is going to end up taking. So, yeah. How much percentage of the vote did you say we have in?
We have well over 50% of the vote, and it's at past.
Yeah, this is a low turnout primary. Then we have around 720,000. We're expecting around 720,000. I think that, but doing the quick math, if we're 50% in.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like my original projection of over 1 million votes is gonna, or 1.5 million votes is gonna be a little off. Probably not gonna see 1.5 million votes. It's possible, but I think maybe close to 1.2 or 3 million votes in this primary.
UAP, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think another reason why? Okay, this is kind of turned into a little bit of conspiracy theories of why Andrew Yang is underperforming, but I think another reason. Do you think that how the Asian community really supported him in New York, and they just didn't come out and vote for him because Asians, out of a lot of the more of the minority groups in the United States, have the least tendency to go out and vote.
I mean, that is true that we do see white voters turn out at higher rates than minority voters, but it really depends on what you think of what high view each did. Now, I remember back when we did our podcast, me and Purple debated this, whether voter suppression was a thing. I know I buy into it more than Purple does, and I do think that there is voter suppression going on actively right now. But New York, I don't really think of one of those states where there would be voter suppression, especially in a primary. So if people didn't come out to vote for Andrew Yang the way he needed them to, I don't think it's because of voter suppression or because there was some conspiracy by the media. Because he's on CNN, he's not really like an insane outsider or anything. I just think it's because he didn't run a good campaign and because he didn't get anyone out to vote. There aren't really any excuses for Andrew Yang as of right now.
Right. I want to go answer some questions I'm seeing in the chat. So if you have questions in the chat, please send them in because I really want to answer questions.
And by the way, feel free to ask questions about 2022 as well.
Yeah. So Catman asks, Purple Political Talk, are these early voting tools? So okay, he's basically asking what type of votes these are. So these are just, it's 52% of the whole vote. Most of these votes can be attributed to election day voting, if I'm not wrong. And there could be some early votes in there. I think that the big thing we're going to be waiting for is when we get to 80%, we're going to see a big stall in vote counting because those are absentee ballots. Yeah. And then in such a big city like New York, I think that getting those absentee ballots, just because of the mail system might be a little bit, different than other areas of the country where it's more, because it's a city and it's a little bit tougher. So they have 10 days to get ballots in. So most of these are currently in-person voting and early voting in person. Let's see. The polls had a great night. They effectively have. I think the big thing they got wrong was Andrew Yang's. I mean, I think that the polls they had, with that many candidates, if the margin of error is 3%, they did okay. Eric Adams, +3 or 4 or 5 where he was expected to be. He was expected to be around 24%. Wiley's around +3. Catherine Garcia is around also +4. And I think that's where we see Andrew Yang's and Scott Stringer's demise, because Scott Stringer and Andrew Yang get around, I think we just got an update, but they get around 4% less than they were expecting.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, 4% less than they were expected to. Those votes are attributed in a big lead for Eric Adams, and then other slight votes for Maya Wiley and Catherine Garcia.
Yeah, and the update was minor. It's another 2% of the vote came in. Adams' lead went from 8.6% to I think right now it's at 8.4%. So nothing changed. And like I said, I think both of us have said that Eric Adams right now is in all likelihood going to win the first round.
And yet again, the first round doesn't really mean anything. Remember?
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say that because it does mean something, but it doesn't determine who's going to win the race. But it's important that you'd obviously always want to finish first, but it doesn't. It's not the end all be all of this race. Now,
it doesn't mean anything in the sense that it's not game over for the rest of the candidates. What this is, winning the first round of votes, and if you're winning by around 6 or 7%. It gives you a big lifeline and a life vest when it comes to the swimming offshore, swimming back to shore, when the rest of the candidates are going to be struggling trying to get the second round votes. Go ahead, UP. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh yeah, no problem. So just to say this, I think that what we're seeing right now is, well, first of all, I think it's a rejection of the idea that that you can win a campaign by being online. And I think most of us already knew this, but I'll criticize Andrew Yang and even people like Diane Morales, for example, or Paperboy Prince. Now, I think that we're exposing the Democratic Party for a lot of the voters in New York City just being everyday voters who don't spend 24 hours on Twitter. And I know that sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm really not, because there were people on Twitter who were saying that Andrew Yang was going to get 80% of the vote in this primary. So just to put that out there, you don't want to listen to what you see on Twitter. You want to look at the polls. And again, I know the polls were wrong in 2020. They were pretty bad, but people are talking about how the polls were better in the Georgia runoffs. They were better with some special elections. They were better right now, where we're seeing Eric Adams. He's winning by a similar margin what the polls had him winning by.
Right. Let me tell you this. Like, as far as polls go, I mean, after the 2020 election, I had real doubts about polls, but the polls have really come back. And
I think it was a Trump thing. I think it was a Trump thing.
I think it was a Trump thing. I think I agree with you in the part that you were saying is that elections are not on Twitter, and Twitters are. If you're winning a Twitter poll, that's not worth anything. And if you're on Twitter, the chances are that you're some young 20 to 30-year-old, or even younger, who's just on Twitter. Because what's one of the things that we have to analyze? I mean, I don't think there's that many. Like New York, most of the Democrats are like probably within under the age of 50, which is like technological age. You know what I mean? I don't think there's that many senior voters. There is, of course, but it's not a big percentage. So the Twitter aspect of it is going to be a little bit less fun. But at a nationwide point of view, if you go off Twitter, I mean, you're gonna get completely like ransacked by the Republicans, because their voters are not on Twitter. These are like grandma and grandpa who are like sitting at home thinking about something else.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Also, just to briefly highlight the district attorney race in Manhattan, it's narrowed up a little bit. Alvin Bragg is still leading Tully, Freddie, and Weinstein, but he's only winning by 4.6%. He was winning by like 8%. I think 20 minutes ago, stand at 4.6%.
So yeah, just to answer someone's question, so I think it was Khan who just asked, who does Catherine Garcia even represent? So she really represents all.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, she was the sanitation. Yeah. Is a vote for Garcia a vote for a New York City bureaucrat? I think Garcia, when you look at it, like, I don't think it's as arbitrary, but she has some connections to prior city politics. So I really think that you're essentially voting for a bureaucrat.
Yeah, that's true. What else do we?
And I think that I think we got an update, but it was minor. It was like 10,000 votes, and wow, it's almost a 10-point lead.
It's a 10-point lead.
10-point lead for Eric Adams.
Biggest lead of the night.
Wow. Yeah, who do you think is taking the fall for that? I think it's certainly Catherine Garcia.
Yeah, Garcia's falling. She was at her best point, she was at nearly 25% of the vote. She's down to 21.3. So not over for her because she has the best crossover appeal, and she's going to be ranked second by a lot of people. But still not exactly a good sign for her, especially with how well Eric Adams is doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, not looking good for Eric Adams. Not for Eric Adams, but for Catherine Garcia.
It is looking good for Eric Adams.
Looking very good, and he's increasing his lead by even more. Andrew Yang is also going up a little bit. He's at 12% right now. I think that the trend we're going to see Eric Adams go up a little bit more. I think he's going to reach his peak at 32%. Then I think that Catherine Garcia and Maya Wiley are both going to drop a little bit. I think they're going to drop 2 points. 2 of those points are going to end up going to Eric Adams, and then 2 of those points I think are going to bump Andrew Yang back to 14%. So it's going to be somewhere around 32 for Eric Adams, 17 for Catherine. No, 2 points down is 19 for Catherine Garcia, 18 for Maya Wiley, and 14 for Andrew Yang.
Here's some interesting updates. On the Republican side of the aisle, Curtis Slua, Rudy Giuliani says that Curtis Slua says he thinks that a Republican can win the New York mayoral race. So this begs the question: is Rudy Giuliani just saying this, just because politicians say crazy stuff like Democrats say we can win Oklahoma, Republicans say we can win California. Obviously, we know that they're lying. But is Giuliani saying this as a lie to potentially make money, or is he saying it just, or does he actually think it? Now, my second question, or second thing, and we'll talk about that in a second, just interesting thing. Joe Lota, who is the 2013 Republican nominee for mayor, has walked into Catherine Garcia's party, that's really weird.
Right.
Is he going to endorse her?
Well, at this point,
That's really strange.
well, I mean,
like,
how
if you got the
you can't endorse someone at this
if you got the Democratic nomination, would he endorse her?
I think so. You know, if she's walking into the party. Now, as far as Giuliani goes, Giuliani has become over the last years a completely insane like politician. And what I think is he's trying to pump up Republicans in New York because his son is running for governor. I think that's a fact that we cannot deny. Even if anything crazy happens, Giuliani's gonna lose the government race. But you know, it's his job to bring up a lot of those voters so they get a lot more. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we haven't got. I think we got a minor update where we're over the 400,000 vote mark. 21.24. Yeah, Catherine Garcia is definitely dropping, and Eric Adams continues to gain. You know, looking very, very well, very, very good for Eric Adams, and for Catherine Garcia. I have a feeling that Maya Wiley might actually take over and might beat her in this primary. And I think that the top two are going to end up being, it's going to be, this is the order. Eric Adams, followed by Maya Wiley, then Catherine Garcia, then Andrew. Do you agree with that, UEP? UEP? I can't hear you. I don't know if the viewers can hear you at home. Hello? Can you guys hear UEP? Because I can't. UEP, can you guys hear UEP? Okay, I think we lost him. Let me see if he can rejoin. I'm trying to make him rejoin. Okay. UEP will be right back. He's going to try to rejoin. But in the meanwhile, let's discuss more of this New York mayoral race. Yeah. Let's see. 4406. It's still looking like it's not, 406,000 votes were almost, a good 70, not 70%, like a 60, almost 60% of the race in. So I think that's interesting. Let's see. UEP is joining again. Let me think. Let me see if I can let's see. Does he have the let me send him a link again so he can join, because I don't want to lose him for the rest of the night. But yeah, we're still I think we just got another vote update. My suspicions are being confirmed. Maya Wiley is starting to gain more and more votes right now. Very, 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 very good for Maya Wiley. Yeah, okay. Let me see. UEP, you're not going to be in the stream. Okay, can you talk and see viewers? Can you hear UEP?
Hold up, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Let's see.
I am sorry. I do not know what happened. I think I dropped for a second. But what were we talking about? Fill me. Oh, hold on. I'll just remember what I'm talking about. Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia, and for good reason. But Maya Wiley is 500 votes behind Catherine Garcia. Like, with the snap of my fingers, she could easily come in second, and we'd be talking about her instead of Catherine Garcia. So, I feel like I've been talking about Wiley a lot, but she's literally just 0.2% behind Catherine Garcia. So she could really come in and, when you think about it, Wiley could win this thing if she catches up and does better in the areas that she's expected to do well in, which are not fully in yet, or into the extent that we see areas that Eric Adams or Catherine Garcia are expected to do well in. So she's got that going for her. And, if we see her sliding up to like 22% of the vote and coming in second, Garcia 21% and her at 22%, Adams at 30%, we could see, we could easily see her winning this election or being much more in it than we originally expected due to ranked choice voting.
Right. We have
do not count her out yet.
700 votes splitting apart. So, yeah, Wiley is getting really, really close to overtaking Catherine Garcia. We're 700 votes away?
She is coming back a little.
Literally within the next refresh, we might have Maya Wiley in second place. This is going to be very interesting to see. So at this point in time, I really think that Maya Wiley could take the lead in this race. I don't know at this point if I think that Maya Wiley being in second place now is really going to be very helpful for her because, she's going to be in second place when Scott Stringer's votes end up coming in second place. She's in second place when Scott Stringer's votes come in the ranked choice. So I think, we might be seeing a very good night for Maya Wiley, and Catherine Garcia is definitely dropping. Let's check down here. So Diane Morales, Raymond McGuire, and Sean Donovan are slightly underperforming where they were expected to be. They were expected to be over the 3% mark. They're barely even reaching that right now. Up in the top of the table, I think one thing becomes very clear in tonight's race. Eric Adams has a huge overperformance. So I think that's something that we have to.
It's,
wait, let me see.
Maya Wiley is now 400 votes behind. It's now 0.1%. Oh gosh, this can be so wow.
Oh wow. Okay, I never expected Maya Wiley to get second place. I really thought Catherine Garcia and Eric Adams are. I just think that Eric Adams is just taking it through the roof. Catherine Garcia is, slowly but surely dropping like Andrew Yang. And Maya Wiley is going to be, I think, the superstar. A 0.1% difference, 400 vote gap. Literally, that's a small precinct. That's 400 votes right there. So, yeah, at this point in time, I'm really sitting at the edge of my seat. I know
Maya Wiley is in second place now, I think, according to people on Twitter. Hold on, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, because
on Decision Desk, she's in second place.
I usually don't trust Decision Desk.
The results usually a little skewed. They're a little wonky sometimes, but on Decision Desk, she's in second place. Either way, this is ridiculously close. New York Times.
It's ridiculously close.
No. She has a 0.2% lead on New York Times. She's now
perfect. Now she
Maya Wiley is now in second place.
Breaking news right now, guys, viewers. Maya Wiley, the Democratic Socialist in a way. She's not a Democratic Socialist, but the more liberal candidate now takes second place over Catherine Garcia. Wow. New York Times currently has Catherine Garcia in second place.
You want to reload the page.
It's right there. You can't see it?
No. Although there is, I'm looking at the, hold on. Oh, no, you're good. You got it. There's just there's a 7-second delay because I was looking at the YouTube tab because I've got that open on my phone. All right.
Wow. Yeah. I'm really surprised at this point. Maya Wiley having a better night than she thought. Really coming down to her support from big Democratic influential, representatives in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I think that just right now, I think the one thing that we definitely cannot undermine right now is although Maya Wiley has taken the lead narrowly, Eric Adams still continues to take the lead by ridiculous margins. He has a 30.6% lead. He has around a 9.6% lead right now. Maya Wiley at this point in time is now taking the lead. Oh, well, not the lead, but the second place spot from Catherine Garcia. Very breaking news at this hour at 10:24 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. UAP, what do you make of these results? What do you think Maya Wiley's current second place? What is it attributed to?
Well, again, we only have, I shouldn't say only because 63% is a lot of the vote, but we're nowhere near done counting the votes. Or, I should say we because I'm not counting the votes, but New York City is nowhere near done counting the results. So we could easily see Garcia slide back into second place. We're really not sure as of right now because of how close the race is. It's just over 1,000 vote lead for Wiley. But I think, again, in my opinion, politics is all about rhetoric. Like you could be progressive and run as a moderate and win in a suburban place. Let's compare some suburban House districts for a second. Humor me. So we've got Katie Porter in California, who is in a suburban Los Angeles district that is very white, and very, Mitt Romney won her district by I think double digits. Then we go to Nebraska, where we have, basically the Omaha suburbs and the Omaha metro area, which is a moderate area, generally speaking, where we have Kerry Eastman and Don Bacon. Eastman and Porter are very similar politicians, and they are both progressives. But Porter branded herself as a moderate Democrat, and Kerry Eastman literally was a Democratic socialist. And guess who won? Katie Porter won in a seat that she should have lost. Kerry Eastman won in a seat that but by the way, in 2020, Kerry Eastman lost this race by 4%, and Joe Biden carried her district by 7%. She ran 11% behind Joe Biden. It's all about it's not all about ideology. It's about rhetoric. The difference between Diane Morales and Maya Wiley is that Maya Wiley may be a Democratic, maybe very liberal, but she's doing a lot better than Diane Morales because she didn't brand herself as a Democratic socialist. Because Democratic socialism on Twitter might be popular, not popular in New York City, even in a super liberal area, not popular in America.
Right. I'm going to have to agree with you there right there that I think that the big thing is that you see, like, me and you know that I'm not a big fan of Democratic Socialists, and I think it's just like a pretty dirty word and stuff. You well know that, like, I'm not really fond of that, that part of the party. And I think Maya Wiley has done a very good job of, going through. She's done a very good job of, getting her message out. Even though she might be a liberal, she's not scaring away voters, which is a huge, huge, huge thing. Okay, that was exaggerated, but yeah, that's what I think.
You're not wrong. It is a huge part of what's going on realistically right now. Also, while I'm at it, I'm gonna unfortunately have to leave for around half an hour, but I'll come back to this room so we can continue talking. Thanks for having me on. I'll be back as soon as I can. See ya.
Right. So UEP is going to be taking a break for half an hour to go out. He's gonna go eat dinner. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna stay here with you guys, chat with you guys in the chat. And UP will be back at around 11 p.m. Eastern time. So while we're seeing, let's take a look at some of the latest results we do have at this time. I'm looking at the lead right now. Eric Adams' lead is going up and up. Again, perfect example. So Maya Wiley is starting to build somewhat of a little lead between Catherine Garcia. She's expanding her lead from Catherine Garcia. But Eric Adams is also expanding his lead. So, at this point in time, I'm really seeing very promising results for Eric Adams. 30.7 to 21.1 is rather big of an amount. That's a whole 9.6 points. So I think that as of right now, it's looking very, very good for Eric Adams. As far as Andrew Yang goes, he's continuing to underperform, but Catherine Garcia is falling significantly right now. Andrew Yang is definitely falling. He only has 50,000 votes, and I really do think that that at this point in time, it's looking like a very strong result for Eric Adams. I think this shows another thing. New York City has rejected a lot of the more further liberal candidates. I think Maya Wiley is the big consolidation of the liberal voters of New York City. But even considering that the three candidates that follow her that make up well more over than 60% of the vote currently in this primary, all of them are center left to center right. So I think that's a big thing for New York City, especially with the Democratic Party, that a lot of voters in that in that race, are currently looking at more center right, center left options instead of further left or right options. So I think that's something that's very interesting at this hour. Let's take a look at the districts by borough. Taking a look at these districts by results by borough, we have Catherine Garcia with a commanding lead in Manhattan, and I think Catherine Garcia's lead is only going to keep going down as Manhattan, which is her strongest suit right now. She is leading Manhattan by 12 points, has 72% of the vote reporting. That is something that's not good. With the rest of the districts, so the Bronx, which this is going to be one of Eric Adams' stopping points. The Bronx has reported 46% of the vote. After the Bronx reports, I mean, the big thing for Catherine Garcia losing more votes is Maya Wiley is going to be able to build up her margin with 40% of the vote left in Brooklyn, where she has 26% of the vote. And in these rest of these races, I think we just got 3-minute update ago. In the rest of these races, margins wise, we're looking at a very positive outlook for Eric Adams and Maya Wiley. Well, Catherine Garcia, in the rest of the places where we have votes, she is falling a little bit behind. So what do you guys think down in the chat? Do you think that, at this point, Catherine Garcia is going to keep on struggling? Do you think that maybe she's going to be, doing a little bit better in some of the precincts? We have 65% of the vote reporting at this time. Yeah, at this point, it looks like a very, very good lead for Eric Adams. I think that a lot of New Yorkers are really not as I think a lot of people are surprised, but New Yorkers really are looking at it. So yeah, let's look at the chat for a little bit. Who do you want to win this race? I mean, at this point, I don't really have a preference, but I don't have a preference because I'm not from New York City, but I really do think that for me personally, if I were to vote in this election, it would be between someone like Eric Adams or Andrew Yang. Let's read some of these more. In Buffalo, New York mayor race, a socialist candidate is the leader so far. So, in some of these races, you're going to see somewhat of Democratic Socialists taking lead. They're becoming a big part of the Democratic Party. Now, what's one of the things that I think is that in certain parts, that's not going to win you general elections. And I think in New York City, Democratic Socialists might feel a big blow. I think at this point, Eric Adams is a smart choice for the Democrats to run in New York City. I think at the end of the day, what Eric Adams will do is, consolidate support amongst conservative voters. But yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're an Andrew Yang supporter, you should be really concerned. Andrew Yang is currently behind, considerably by almost 8 points. With Maya Wiley now in second place, I mean, this is going to be a tough night for a lot of Andrew Yang voters. I think, the only minor thing that might save Catherine Garcia at this point is Andrew Yang's voters. That was a huge gift. But now what we have to analyze is these more liberal candidates. Let's just look at the big ones. Let's suppose that all of them, and this won't happen, Scott Stringer and Diane Morales, let's just estimate 7% of the vote goes to Maya Wiley. That would put Maya Wiley at 28%. But if Andrew Yang's voters do as Andrew Yang told them to do, 11% of the vote would be added to Garcia. She currently has a smaller lead. So at this point, I really do not know, as far as ranked choice voting, if Catherine Garcia is going to be able to make up that minority. And I think that a lot of my Wiley voters are probably going to vote for Catherine Garcia before they vote for Eric Adams. If anything does end up helping a Catherine Garcia in this race, it's Maya Wiley's voters do not vote for Eric Adams. They go and vote for Catherine Garcia. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna discuss this. I think that another reason why Yang really fell from grace in this election was he looked like an outsider for a certain amount of time. Andrew Yang left New York for COVID, and at the end of the day, that was something that was really gonna hurt him to a certain extent. And I think at this point, we're definitely looking at a very interesting race in this race, and I think Eric Adams pretty much has wrapped the first round of the race. There's still 13 rounds to go, but I don't know what's going to happen. Democratic Socialists could do in the city council races, a lot of them. Well, you know, as far as city council races, that could actually work because it's like the House races. Democratic Socialists have taken over New York City. You have Richie Torres. You have Jamal Bowman. You have a lot of these more, you know, rising voices. So, you know, I think that those voters are certainly going to, since it's more centralized, it's more specific, it's going to do a little bit better. Now, as far as, you know, completely taking them, I'm not really sure. It's a possibility, but, you know, I'm not sure. Democratic Socialists could do, yeah, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we're definitely gonna end up looking at the interesting thing about this race is gonna see where ultimately the ranked choice votings, where are they gonna end up. So that is what we're gonna end up seeing. So that's gonna be the deciding factor of this race. If my calculations and what I'm saying is right, Kathleen Garcia might end up winning the race because, I mean, she could take some of Sean Donovan's and Ray McGuire's, or let's suppose that ends up winning Yang of second choice. So that's a good 4% right there. And then let's suppose a lot of that ends up going to Garcia afterwards. Garcia, I think, might be in a good position if she does get to the final round. Yeah, I think I agree with that, Matthew, that at this point it becomes a scenario race. If Maya Wiley is the last candidate, she's going to lose the race. She's the second, the top two. If Catherine Garcia is in the top two, Catherine Garcia wins the race. You know, I think that this lead that Eric Adams has is it's a facade. You know, this reminds me of that mirage that we did have during the 2020 presidential election, where we saw for a whole day Donald Trump ahead in a lot of these states, and electorally he was ahead. Now it's the same thing. Eric Adams holds a big lead right now, but the ranked choice voting is really going to screw him over. And I think that Catherine Garcia is going to end up being a big demise to Eric Adams. So I definitely do agree with that. Now, I think that another thing is that, you know, Maya Wiley at most is probably going to end up getting another 10 to 20% of the vote. 10% probably more. That's more accurate where we're looking at. That's pretty much Scott Stringer's votes and then Diane Morales's. So that's a good 7%. Is it possible that Wiley can win? So I currently do not think that it's very likely. I think that at this point, the problem with Maya Wiley is she might be in second place right now. It's just that with the ranked choice voting, it's going to be very difficult for her to, you know, overpass Eric Adams. To the point, you know, where Andrew Yang, for example, and Catherine Garcia have an advantage. I mean, Catherine Garcia has a big advantage that a lot of her votes are going to come from Sean Donovan, Raymond McGuire, Andrew Yang, all of those votes. I mean, with the exception of Sean Donovan. Sean Donovan's vote might end up going to Eric Adams. But I would say that Ray McGuire's and some of Sean Donovan's votes go to Andrew Yang, and then Andrew Yang's votes are going to end up going to Garcia. So at this point in time, I really do think it's going to be a little bit difficult for someone like a Maya Wiley to win. However, it's still possible. I mean, you can never say never. You'd be surprised by some of the results we've seen in U.S. politics in the last couple of years. But, you know, I really think that this race is going to be two scenarios. Eric Adams versus Maya Wiley in the top two. Eric Adams is the race by 10 to 20 points. Catherine Garcia in the top two. We might see a completely different race. So I think that's something that we should definitely take into mind. Guys, I have a question for you guys. I am currently at 2,287 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 2,300 subscribers by the end of this stream. Is it possible that 13 of you guys who are not currently subscribed can subscribe so you guys can push me over the edge and reach 2,300 during the stream? If we can do that, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. Let's see. We just got a vote update. Yeah, Maya Wiley is increasing somewhat her lead, but right now what we're really seeing is that it's 1,000 vote difference. So who knows what will happen there? But it's gonna come down to that ranked choice voting, and the question no longer becomes why Yang performed so badly, but where would these ranked choice voting, where are those votes gonna end up reallocating? So I want to see what you guys think in the chat. Where do you think that these ranked choice votings, whose votes are going to go to who? Because I think that's going to be a big thing. And I think Catherine Garcia's saving grace was, that half endorsement of Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang coming out and campaigning with her was such a great thing for Catherine Garcia, because that gave her the ability to go up and probably gain some of his voters. So I think for Catherine Garcia, it's going to be a big thing. And if she's going to end up winning the race, it's going to be because of that. Matt says low turnout does doom the Yang, and I think that's true. And I think I'm going to have to look at the results later on with demographics and who voted and who did what. So, but I think one of the things that might have hurt Yang is that one of his strongest points, Asian American voters, usually they don't like to come out and vote in elections. They have low turnout. And for Yang, that might have doomed him very big. And I think this race is a low turnout primary. I think that when we at the beginning of this video, or this live stream, me and UEP were crunching some numbers, and we came to the conclusion that the race was about to be it was expected to be 1 million votes, but that was far from the case. The real case was that the actual numbers are going to be somewhere around 300, 600, like 700, 800,000. So that's 200,000 less votes. So yeah. Brady thinks that Andrew Yang will end around with 12 to 14% of the vote. I can see that. That's very possible at this point. I mean, Andrew Yang could certainly do that. What split would Garcia votes likely go to Adams and Wiley? I think that Garcia votes are going to end up splitting like 70-30 towards Eric Adams. I think Eric Adams more closely relates to Catherine Garcia than Maya Wiley. So I think that the big like scheme of things is going to be just moving from the bottom up. Donovan's votes are probably going to end up going to Eric Adams, McGuire's to Yang. Then we're going to see Morales going to Maya Wiley. Scott Stringer going to Maya Wiley. So that's around 8% right there. So that's pretty much everything that goes to Wiley. Then you get 4% or 2% for Yang. Yeah, I think it's currently looking at all of those votes the progressive votes are going to end up going for Maya Wiley. If Garcia wins at the end, it will be a little less stinging of a loss for Yang. I think that's true. I mean, for Andrew Yang, he wants a political future, and the reality is that for Andrew Yang, it's important for someone like Catherine Garcia to win, because Andrew Yang wants a political career, and Catherine Garcia might be the person because he's been so friendly with her, and she formed that alliance. And I think ultimately Andrew Yang's political career could be over if he loses this race. If Catherine Garcia loses the race, I think that for him it was just a series of unfortunate events. Do New York City mayors get a cabinet like presidents? Yeah, they do. It's a little different, and I want to see if one of the New Yorkers in the chat can explain exactly how the cabinets are set up. But it's something like an executive, council type of thing where you get appointed positions and stuff like that. But yeah, at this point, it's a very disappointing night for Andrew Yang. I think that Maya Wiley could end up getting second place after everything is said and done. But if Catherine Garcia has a possibility, but by the look of things, it's going to be a close race for second place, and it's really going to depend who ends up being his the second place. That person, it's going to really change the shift of the race. Eric Adams should feel pretty comfortable if Maya Wiley's in second place. Catherine Garcia is in second place. Let's take a look at more of the chat. Mario Cuomo lost his mayoral race and became governor, but that's different. Mario Cuomo was a Democrat, and New York was trending Democratic. There was a point in time where New York was still in its weird Republican Democratic phase. Who was my first choice? My first choice probably would have been either Maya Wiley, Andrew Yang, or Ray McGuire. I'm not sure out of the three, but I'm still not sure. How is the comptroller race looking? Let me take a look at that for you, Catman. The comptroller race is Lander 31%, Johnson 23%. So Lander still looks to have a little bit more of a lead in that race. And checking on the district attorney race, I haven't checked on that in a little bit. Yeah, it's getting close. It's 4%, 4% in that race of difference. So I think that it's something that could be very close. So yeah, I think that the district attorney race is probably going to end up being around 3 or 2%. I want to see what UEP thinks when he gets back. But yeah, it's looking very good right now for Bragg. Let's take a look at where these votes are coming from. The ones. So yeah, Manhattan is almost completely gone. So that's going to drop most of Garcia's votes. Everything else is around 60%. So we're actually getting a lot of votes tonight, but more than we expected. I think at the end of the day, what's really going to be annoying is waiting for these tiny votes to actually get counted. And then I wish what they would do for these ranked choice elections was that they release votes as like in second choice, third choice, like how much of each did each candidate get, so then we could actually do the math and go through, and that would be cool. So I don't know if you guys think that it would be better if they reported all the choices and then they just easily make a projection. I think that would be the most logical thing to do. But yet again, sometimes city election boards do things that are illogical just to take waste time. Ying worst areas are the places where he has the least amount of votes to left. Well, you're right about that. I mean, you can see that Queens, where he was doing moderately well right here, 18%, 67, Staten Island, 17, 59%. Positive for him. Now, where is Ying doing horribly? He's doing bad in the Bronx, 9%. That's almost done for him. That nightmare is almost done. And 11%, that's not bad. Manhattan, 83%. So, I mean, that is a good point, but at the end of the day, how much is that really going to influence it? So, let's take a look at that. So, you see, we got a brand new update in results, and at this point in time, it's looking like Maya Wiley is gonna narrowly, that lead is gonna get in second place is gonna get swallowed for her. Now, the big question becomes: does Maya Wiley have enough precincts left to the point where she can go out and maintain her second place? Because if Maya Wiley wants any chance of winning this race, she's gonna need to stay in second place. Because I think the best thing for Catherine Garcia would be for her to get second place, get Yang's vote, and I think she will actually get a lot of Maya Wiley's vote. I don't know if you guys think that is true. Do you think that once Maya Wiley ends up, let's suppose that she ends up in third place, do you think her votes would go to Garcia, or do you think they're going to go to Adams? Yeah, I think because then you also have to think that, of course, that Wiley has a good percentage of votes. So let's see. Yang just conceded. So Yang just dropped out. Whoops. Okay, that's actually a very big call right now. So I should be getting that in here on my little thing. So Andrew Yang has officially dropped out of this race. That is a very big deal, guys. I'm going to stop my video for a second and talk about that. So Andrew Yang conceding is a very big moment in this race. Unfortunately, UEP couldn't be here because he was out. He's having dinner right now. But Andrew Yang, dropping out, that's a big thing. Looking at these results that we have right now, let me just stop my video for a second. It's looking, I mean, he was not going to win. But, I think at the end of the day, that's 31, almost, let's just say 28% for Catherine Garcia already. Who knows? Maybe that puts her level with Eric Adams. I don't know why I'm saying Ben McAdams. I'm thinking about someone else. Eric Adams. So it's going to be close, and it's going to come down to those extra votes and if Maya Wiley is able to pull it off. So with Andrew Yang out of the race, this completely shifts the whole race, because now we can see Catherine Garcia gaining those votes. So now my big question is, we're seeing Maya Wiley with a lot more support. She's gaining 5% of the vote, or 0.5%. So she has a larger lead compared to Catherine Garcia, over Catherine Garcia. But yeah, Andrew Yang has dropped out. I think it was just a result of his Poor showing. Let me text Repeat. I wonder if he's coming back because I want to discuss it with him. I think this is very very, very, very bad for Andrew Yang. This ends his political career in a way. He still has some future, but it's going to be very tough for him to succeed. At this point in time, this was going to be his big race. This is where, Andrew Yang could have, proved himself. But it's going to be very difficult for him to move forward from this. And yeah, I think that was something that's pretty big. Now, I have a question for you Yang supporters. I just want to take a poll within my viewers, and let me see if I can actually do that here in my on the YouTube poll, because I'm gonna send a poll right now out in the chat. I want to see if who would you vote who would be your second place, I guess, after Yang, because I'm seeing there are a lot of Yang supporters in this chat live right now. So let me see if I can actually get this to. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna send a poll right now because I really want to see what you guys think, because I'm actually really intrigued to see what you guys think, because at this point in time it's not looking very very good for Andrew Yang. I mean, he dropped out. So let me send out a poll. Are you guys surprised that Andrew Yang dropped out? Hold on, I'm sorry. I think that Andrew Yang's campaign this time around really comes to show a couple things. One, the first thing is campaigning on social media is a lucrative thing, but you need to know how to do it. You need to know how to do it correctly and actually get people to go out and vote. Andrew Yang had a pretty strong social media game. He had the Yang game. He had it on Reddit. All these places. But at the end of the day, Reddit are not the voters of New York City. He needs to go out. He needs to go out and win those voters. And I think that, frankly, he didn't do that. Now, what I will say at this point is that I think that it really also kind of it also falls upon other reasons, but this is a tough blow for Andrew Yang. But yeah, this is insane. I never thought Andrew Yang was gonna drop out of the race. I'm still a little shocked, but let's take a look at results right now. Yeah, Catherine Garcia is increasing her results. Yeah, but Eric Adams is doing so well today. 30.9% to 21.2. That's a whole 8 point. No, that's a 9.7 lead. 9.7% lead. Then you have a 0.5% difference. Andrew Yang dropped out. Those votes are probably going to end up going to Catherine Garcia. These smaller tier candidates probably going to end up dropping out soon. I mean, they don't even have a chance. They're going to get the big axe. But the big race right now is inevitably between Maya Wiley and Eric Adams, and Maya Wiley continues to do very well tonight. She now has a 0.6% lead over Catherine Garcia, almost 4,000 vote lead. She's quickly expanding this lead, and Eric Adams, continues to get away. I think by the end of the night, when we have like 90% of the votes reporting, it's going to be somewhere around 32% for Eric Adams, maybe 22% for Maya Wiley. Catherine Garcia is probably going to end up with a good 19%, and then from there down, you're going to see a little bit of a harder race. So I am really I'm really shocked in a way of this of these results. Let's take a look at where the votes are coming in. That was a pretty big increase for Wiley. Let's see, 86% reporting in Manhattan, 71, 70, 84, 59. I mean, with these votes, I mean, Wiley's going to get some votes in Brooklyn to increase her lead over Garcia. Yeah, this is going to be Garcia's demise in this race, that the places where Garcia has votes left, Wiley is way ahead. Like where the votes are left, Garcia is underperforming. So, I think it's something that we definitely should analyze. Like, I think we just got another update. Let's see. Andrew Yang's continuing to drop, but I mean, at this point, he's dropped out of the race. So it's not really a big deal, but yeah, this is going to be the big interesting part. Let me collapse. I don't want to see all the candidates. I want to see the important candidates now. Let's see. Collapse candidates. Okay. So UEP just texted me, and she should be back in around 2 to 5 minutes. So I'm excited for that. But let's see. Yeah, Eric Adams, Maya Wiley, Catherine Garcia, and Andrew Yang at the top. Not a surprise. I mean, I really think at this point, just by looking at this, like, Andrew Yang dropping out is really going to give Catherine Garcia that competitive edge. Because let's just suppose that the 11%, 11.7, let's suppose all of them, which is not going to happen, and the 20.6%, let's add that together. That's 32.3. 32.3. That puts her slightly over Eric Adams. So, I mean, I think that this race is actually a real possibility for Andrew Yang, for Catherine Garcia. And Andrew Yang is going to be a big reason if Catherine Garcia does win, why she does win. And I really think that Catherine Garcia is going to be, at the end of the day, very, very grateful for that, and she's going to reward Andrew Yang with a cabinet position, maybe. Let's see. She was my fourth choice, but out of the main four, but now I'm rooting for her so she can give Yang a role. I think that a lot of Yang supporters are going to be in the same boat tonight. But, this is a thing about ranked choice voting I don't like. It's, I like this better than having a primary runoff. Like, runoff races are so annoying to deliver because it's just two candidates and it's pretty boring. This is interesting because there's so many different things that you can cover. Now, if I was a New Yorker, which I'm not, I don't live in New York City, I would be really mad with this system because, I have to wait years to find out who the Democratic nominee is. So, yeah. Let's see. UP is almost back, so we're almost getting ready for that return. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Andrew, a race to lose. Very positive right now for Eric Adams. 31% lead. Maya Wiley is taking away with the race, and she's really doing very well. And my good friend UEP is here right now and live. Welcome back to the stream, UEP. The viewers, you are now live, and the viewers can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. So you've missed the craziest 30 minutes of our life.
Yang dropped out.
Yang drops out of the race. So very, very big thing right now for this race, which means it's looking like Catherine Garcia has a chance now. It's looking that Catherine Garcia could actually overcome this like third place where she currently is. Maya Wiley currently has 21.3%. She has a significant lead. That's what 0.7% lead. So almost nearing 1%. So do you think that Andrew Yang dropping out is really going to end up helping Catherine Garcia's chances of becoming the next mayor of the city of New York?
Well, yeah, and well, for obvious reasons, yes. But I think it's also worth talking about if Garcia wins this race and becomes the next mayor of New York City, Yang probably gets a position in her cabinet for helping her out, just to put that out there.
Right. Yeah, and this race looks to be getting Maya Wiley's increasing her votes. Her vote totals with what we can see. We can see her right now with 31.0% for Eric Adams, to 21.4% of Maya Wiley, and 20.6% for Catherine Garcia. At this point, the race no longer is who gets first place. That's so long gone. It's who can get second place and that competitive edge, to not be squeezed in. UP taking a look at the current totals. Do you think it is plausible for Maya Wiley to win the race?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's actually quite plausible because when we talk about the voters that Maya Wiley is getting, they are likely just giving it, the other progressives in this race besides Maya Wiley are Scott Stringer and Diane Morales, as well as Catherine Garcia to a certain extent. We already talked about how she is kind of, she has not tied herself to either the progressive end of the party or the moderate end. But, if she can kind of scoop up those votes from Scott Stringer, scoop up those votes from Diane Morales, she wouldn't get all, because they combined for around 8%. She wouldn't get all 8%, obviously, but even if she got half of that, add that onto her total, she's basically right there with Eric Adams, assuming Adams, gains and loses a couple of votes based on our ranked choice voting. And this isn't to say that there are, because I bet that there are a lot of, there are at least some Eric Adams voters out there who put Maya Wiley down as their second choice. So I think really Maya Wiley is still in a strong position, but as of right now, Adams is still favored. Now, what I do want to touch on is, is Catherine Garcia, and I guess I'll ask you a question now because you've been asking me a lot of questions. I'll ask you a question. Do you think that Catherine Garcia can come back because she was up for basically all of the night? She was in second place. Do you think she can come back and reclaim that second place spot? Because like you said, first is basically long gone at this point. Eric Adams is going to win first place. But is it possible for Garcia to come back and go in second place?
So long-term, in first choice voting, I think it's impossible. Where Garcia has votes left, it's not looking good for her to get second place. However, I must say with the rest of the candidates that are left, it's going to be a very close race for second. And whoever gets sandwiched in second place is going to get super lucky because whoever gets in third place is going to get knocked out, of course. So I think that for Garcia, she's going to get second place eventually. If the race is between 1 percentage point, just with Andrew Yang's, let's suppose that it's a 75% split. Because at that point, it would be between Eric Adams and Maya Wiley as the other candidates. I think with just Andrew Yang's votes, she could probably get in second place. And that would effectively screw over Maya Wiley. And I think that short answer right now, first choice, also I think pretty gone for Catherine Garcia. Now what I'm really thinking is who would Maya Wiley's votes go? Because she's gonna have a very weird group of voters, which is pretty much everyone progressive. Who do you think her votes go to in the case that she is in third place, and then it's between Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia?
Well, Wiley, because first of all, the Wiley votes that go to that go to people like Andrew Yang or Scott Stringer because Wiley voters said the Stringer was second or something. It doesn't matter because they're obviously going to lose this race. However, talking about between Garcia and Adams, hypothetically speaking, I'd have to go with Garcia. This isn't to say that Wiley voters aren't going for Adams, but I think that there are more Eric Adams voters that voted for Maya Wiley than there are Maya Wiley voters that voted for Eric Adams. And I think that we can agree on that. Now, second, like I said, Garcia has the ability to not, kind of pan it. And we've been saying this all night. Like since we got on here at 8:30, it's now 11:02. We've been saying all night that, Catherine Garcia has done a good job not pinning herself to the left or to the moderate end of the party. And I think that that's going to help her. And I think that if, we see Wiley votes going to someone, it's probably going to give Garcia more so than Eric Adams.
Right. So, now the thing I'm really conflicted about is there going to be somewhat of, is there going to be movement from Wiley voters to make an African American they would vote for Adams, or do you think that's not going to really be a thing? Because what's going to be interesting is that it's a thing where if I'm correct, because this is the first time we have a ranked choice election. If Catherine Garcia, let's suppose that someone's Maya Wiley's second choice, all those votes go with her until forever, right? Until she gets kicked out.
Oh yes, yeah. It's basically just you eliminate one person per round. So yes.
Right. So then, by that metric, I think that Catherine Garcia does have a chance. I'm really confused right now. Like on this ranked choice voting thing, just has so many hypotheticals, but yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I think all of us are a little lost here. And we're not going to know for at least another week. So if you're a little lost here, that's fine. I know, me and, obviously you don't see what goes on behind the scenes filming this, but me and Purple had to do a lot of research. I could scroll up on our WhatsApp conversation was and find a bunch of links talking about ranked choice voting. And in fact, I spent 10 minutes telling him about, the 2018 Maine elections. But, this is a complex thing. And I've seen a lot of people try to explain it and not be very good at explaining it. So If you're a little confused on what's happening here, that's perfectly fine because I think all of us are in a way. Now, what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to see a single elimination thingy where right now we have what basically from Adams to Donovan, we have kind of, I think that's 8 candidates, right? Yeah, that's 8 candidates who are really kind of that we talked about.
Those are like Z tier, like they're like off the list.
Yeah. So there are 8 candidates we talked about. Right now Donovan's in last. So if he stays in last, they just eliminate him first. Then they, do the range was voting for the top 7. Then they eliminate someone else. Then they eliminate someone else. So it goes, like if we made a chart, it would be like kind of like a staircase, if you feel me.
Right. If you take a look at polling data and how they simulated it, it was a staircase. Your votes are gone, so now we're gonna divide into because then wait. This doesn't make sense though. Because it depends how they do it. Because if they split, like for example. Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say something that was not relevant. Because I was thinking that let's suppose that you voted for Diane Morales, right? She gets eliminated, and your next choice was Scott Stringer. So does it go to your next choice? It goes to your next choice, right? Not the big candidates. Right. I'm being a complete idiot here. UP.
Whoa, swearing. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
I'm joking.
But I think
let's say nice words here.
Yeah, this race is if they implemented ranked choice voting nationwide for Senate races and House races, trust me, election night would be a nightmare. This ranked choice voting thing, I think it's nice because then it's not like you're like throwing away to vote if you want to vote for a third party candidate. I think it has its benefits, but then also it's like a nightmare to think about. Guys, I have a big announcement. I have 1 subscriber less until I reach 2,300 subscribers, 2.3K.
Dang, you've gained 40 subs tonight. All right, guys, let's do it. We know what to do.
Can we do it tonight? I think we can. And let's see if I can do it. I know one of you guys are going to come in clutch and going to help me out.
2.29K. Also, let me just take this moment to pump my channel. Please help me out if you're not subscribed to my channel already. I'm trying to get to 5K by the end of June. We're close. We're 80 subs away.
80 subs away. UP is really close to reaching 5,000 subscribers. And, we've been working together for a really long time. It's almost been a year at this point. And UAP has worked very, very hard to reach 5,000 subscribers. So if you can go help my boy out, please get. Oh, wait, I think I have officially reached 2,300 subscribers. Good job, guys. Thank you so much for that. I don't know. I have a little thing for reaching milestones on live streams. I reached 2,000 subscribers on the election night live stream I did in November. So thank you guys so much, and we're going to continue analyzing this race.
You're at 2,300 according to YouTube Studio. The sub count's a little behind in real time, but
right.
Good job. We hit 2.3K today.
Perfect. So, yeah.
All right. Do you guys want to?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Okay. Sorry for a little subscriber rant. Now there's a lot of things I'm thinking about. Now, I want to crunch some numbers. So these minor candidates, their votes, I don't know who they're going to go to because I don't know anything about these people. But, I really think that moving forward at ranked choice voting, Catherine Garcia has a competitive advantage, certainly. Eric Adams' lead is starting to shrink a little bit, but it's not going to be major.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
He's going to win first place no matter what happens.
Right. But I think even with that, I think Eric Adams, again, the bad thing for Eric Adams is while he might get first choice support, his second choice and third choice and fourth choice and fifth choice support, no one, he probably is ranked among the last for a lot of people, of the important relevant candidates. So yeah. Do you think that at this point Eric Adams is untouchable in the race, or you think ranked choice voting could come in?
Well, he's not. Well, first of all, I I never like to say things are untouchable or are untouchable till the very end of until it's really called. Not even by CNN or anything, just by the actual system. And really, like, I don't think that I called the 2020 election. Like, I think I called the state, so I didn't call the actual election until the electoral college met, just to avoid anything crazy happening. Which, for the record, luckily nothing crazy happened. That would have been ridiculously
Well,
divisive.
I mean, nothing crazy happened
Well,
except
not to downplay the January 6th insurrection.
right.
That was terrible for our democracy, but nothing crazy changed about the way that Joe Biden became president. So, anyways, I'm too cautious on this stuff. I would never call this for Eric Adams anytime soon. That being said, he's going to win first place, and I think that he's in a good position to win right now. He's in a better position to. I mean, I said he was going to win at the beginning of the night, but he'd always rather be winning right now. And I think that if he wins the first round by more than 10%, which he's 0.7% away from doing that, I think he's untouchable. Now, if it's in between 5 to 10%, it's very, very likely that he wins, but ranked choice voting could come to bite him in the back if we do see a lot of Garcia voters, if she comes in third, going for Wiley, which we're not sure about yet. We'll have to see how these ballots look, but it could happen.
Okay, I when you were not here, I was saying this, and I think if the Board of Elections could do this, oh my gosh, it would be amazing. I wish they could release results by ballots, like who got first choice, second. Like, it would be hard to do it, right? But like, it would. Can you even report it that way? If they could report it that way, that would be like God's work, because
that would be like amazing.
Call the race, but I think that would be too complicated in the sense that it would be too difficult to do that, because then like people's, like, even though they might be someone's third choice, you don't know who's candidate. Yeah, that's technically impossible. But if they could do that, we wouldn't have to be here waiting for weeks, because this election, although we've started to gain clarity of where it's going, unfortunately we're going to have to wait weeks until we actually find out who ends up becoming the winner. But I think at this point we have a very strong showing of who could end up being the victor in this race. Eric Adams, I mean, his lead is starting to go down a little bit, and Maya Wiley now has a 1% lead. I think that's a very good thing for a lot of liberals in the city. Do you think that, GP?
Well, it really depends on what you define as a liberal. I think that New York City obviously is a progressive city, and New York City is going to vote much, much more Democratic than the rest of the country. We know that. Now, New York Democrats, I don't think that New York is necessarily a democratic socialist city the way that people like to brand it as, for rhetoric or whatever.
Right.
They're much more progressive cities than New York City. Now, that being said, it's not really a moderate city. Like I can think of a few. It's not really like a suburb or anything. It's unique, I guess I can say. So I'm not really sure I answer that question. What I will say as of right now is that I'd rather be a progressive Democrat than a moderate Democrat if we're running statewide in New York or citywide in New York City. But we just saw Eric Adams likely win this mayoral election, so you never know.
Will New York City count all of its votes tonight? No. What's gonna end up happening is that since you have a lot of voters who are voting by mail, that's gonna take a little bit of time to count. Probably gonna see a similar voting dump to what you saw in Pennsylvania, where you randomly got a bunch of votes in the middle of the night because that's just how they were processed. So yeah, we're gonna see that. Now I think that for New York City, they've actually done a pretty good job of counting votes. Usually New York City takes a long time to count votes, but
yeah, I remember like Manhattan was like only 50% reporting until like December. So
yeah,
good on New York City.
Yeah, Manhattan picked up his election game. They're 100% reporting at this time. Yep, I mean, this is just gonna tell us that Garcia
85% of the vote is in. 85% in.
Do you think they could actually end up counting like at least 95% of the vote by tonight?
I hope so. I mean, like, I think right now over-under is around 90% because there's going to be some sort of stall with military ballots and stuff. But I will say New York is doing better than I thought. So, like I said, good on them. I bet we're at 91, 92% by the end of the night.
Yeah. When's the general election?
It's November 2nd. It's the same day as the Virginia, New Jersey gubernatorial elections, as well as the Washington legislative elections.
Oh, that's nice. Those races are really, really interesting.
Guys, should we go live on that November 2nd on that night next fall? That'd be cool.
I think we should. And to return the favor, we could do it on your channel.
That would be cool. That would be cool because I've enjoyed this, and thanks for coming to watch this live stream, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty flattered that we got 50, 60 viewers consistently throughout the whole live stream. That's very great. And, you know, my favorite time during elections is these moments where we see all the anticipation for so long build up to the point where now we can actually tell the winners. So, or we're close to. And I think it's just really exciting. And it's just a great opportunity that, you know, I'm really grateful for. Yeah, I mean, Maya Wiley's doing very good tonight. I'm still very shocked. Very, very shocked to see Andrew Yang fail so badly in this race. And Maya Wiley is highly overperforming her polling numbers. I think this is another thing. Maya Wiley's overperformance tells us one thing. I think it might have been a big FU to the Andrew Yang, Catherine Garcia.
Yeah, she definitely did split some amount of votes with Andrew Yang.
Yeah. I think that a lot of Catherine Garcia voters and Andrew Yang voters, like, I mean, Catherine Garcia still did relatively well compared to where she was going to be. Let me see if I can actually pull this up. Hold on. I had a polling here that was just first choice, and we can actually compare this now. I have it here. Hold on. I'm going to show you this poll that had first choice candidates. We're going to see, compare to where we are right now, where exactly the polls went somewhat wrong. UEP, let's compare this. Hold on.
All right, I've got the Wikipedia tab open. Also, interestingly enough, I had a 2012 United States presidential election in New York. I was looking at that earlier.
Okay, hold on.
It always intrigues me how well
Obama
did in New York.
Let me just change your name. Hold on. Oh, you can't see your name. There it is. There you are. So, looking at these polls and where we are right now, I'm sorry if you guys can't see the New York Times tab too well. Let me try to zoom in. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it better. Hold on. Oops. This is where we are. You guys can see that better now, right? Yeah. So let me just take off the words that's here so you guys can see better. So the current results are Eric Adams at 30%, Maya Wiley at 21%, Catherine Garcia at 20%, Andrew Yang at 11%, Scott Stringer at 5%, and everyone else at 2%. So, okay, this also makes more sense because we have a lot of undecided voters. So by the look of this, we see a lot of the undecided voters go to Adams. We see a lot of undecided voters going to Wiley. And then Scott Stringer's voters, like the 2% that we see that's not accounted for, are probably voters for, what's her name? Maya Wiley. Do you agree with that? Oh, I think we just got a little update, but it's not big. Oh, yeah, it is. 1.1% lead for Catherine for Maya Wiley. She's gonna take the lead.
Yeah, she just
so I think the polling really shows. Do you have the Wikipedia tabs for polling?
Yes, I do actually. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
You know, can you? I don't know if you can share your screen.
Actually, you know what I can do right now is I bet I can share my screen. Let's see if it works. What I will say is it does get a little laggy, but let's try something out because I have a cool graph I want to share. All right.
Yep, you can share screen. I have to show it in your stream. Hold on. Your screen isn't on for you too. Okay, get off that tab because it's gonna look super crazy.
All right. Oh, do you see this graph?
Let me take everything off. So it's just let me just hide the New York Times. Let me hide.
Do you see my graph? Whoa, that's cool. Yeah. Do you guys see my graph? Okay. Whoa, I can do that. Okay. Okay. Anyways, so I hope you guys can see my graph. So Andrew Yang, who is the purple, had a lead basically until he had a lead, basically until the end of April.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. Let's see. Can I
If you're on
zoom
your
in
Mac, it's like use your trackpad.
The what?
The trackpad.
Oh yeah, you're right. I should really use the trackpad. It's easier to use in this regard. I'm using my mouse. Okay, Wikipedia is not going to let me zoom in. I wish I could click on the image. Okay, whatever. Let's see. I don't know.
Oops, that's a cool effect, right?
Yeah, I like it. I secretly like this. Whoa. Okay. But anyways, I guess I'll just try to narrate to the best of my abilities. Andrew Yang had a solid lead until the end of April 2021. The undecided, and it was him, the undecideds. Eric Adams took a lead. He took the lead in, I think it looks like on like April 25th or something like that. He's never relinquished the lead. He was briefly overtaken by undecideds in one poll, but he never really relinquished that lead. His high point was at the end of May. It fell a little bit. We saw Wiley had a really big jump. She was polling at like 15% in the middle of June, and then she's now at 20, and she's now at like around 22%. So yeah, but really the big story about this is how Andrew Yang fell. He was supposed to win this race by a lot. He was polling at
27%.
Yeah, at 27%, I was going to say a little above 25%, and he's now down to just around 15 or 16%.
Which in actual election terms, if we compare that, let's just take a look at this screen. That's the New York Times results. We can see how that really fell by a lot. I mean, even with the 15, 14, 16% that was projected, Andrew Yang fell by, almost how much? 6%, 5%? So yeah.
Yeah, because he's at 12% right now. So that's not very that's not very good for him. A really bad underperformance.
We have 87% of the vote, and wow, they've actually surprised me of how quickly they've counted.
Yeah, good on New York for counting these votes so quickly. Also, the Manhattan District Attorney race is really close. Bragg is down to just a 2.4% lead.
Oh my gosh, I forgot to update you on that. Yeah, when you were gone, it was like at 4%.
Yeah, I know it was at 4% for most of the night, and it's now 2.4%. So,
and for the people asking about the comptroller race, I can't believe they call it the comptroller. I thought it was controller. I feel like an idiot now. It's 31-23 in favor of Lander, and then you guys asked for the district attorney race.
Yeah, Lander is the Democratic Socialist endorsed candidate.
Yeah, I really thought that this race, isn't there a guy that you said you knew about beforehand? In the district.
Oh, yes, I actually did. Yes, I actually did.
Which one was it?
I'm actually not going to disclose that, but I actually do know one of them as a family friend.
Right.
It was cool. I was definitely rooting for someone in the district attorney race, but it's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's actually a cool thing when you know one of the candidates. So
yeah, cool. It is cool. Actually, we can talk about this personally. Actually, I've actually never met a politician before. I mean,
so the people here that I think are 95% reporting.
I mean, wait for the DA race. Let me see. I don't have that on my screen. It just it says greater than 95% reported. Bragg up by 2.4%.
You know why? Because that's Manhattan.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's much smaller. And then 88% in for mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, of course, has that lead.
It really does come down to I think that it's just Manhattan, which is it's a pretty big population center, at least with like more liberal voters. Like all these voters are liberal; they're all Democrats, but the Manhattan is a center for like establishment Democrats in New York. Then Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn, the three boroughs around it, are where you can see the more progressive candidates. They do well in those districts. And then Staten Island is a big melting pot of everything. Yeah, you see, these are like almost fully reported. Staten Island hasn't reported something in like a while.
Yeah, Staten Island's kind of definitely the most slow, based on population. I mean, you think Staten Island would be the best at this because they're the smallest borough, but nope, 59% in. Manhattan's 100% in. So Garcia officially
Weirdly, I
did
don't
win
know. Like
Manhattan.
Eric Adams keeps on going up and down. Like he's been going down by half a percentage point and then going up by half a percentage point. It's very
Yeah, we're gonna
weird.
stay. I mean, he might go up and down by a little bit, but we're gonna stay pretty even. I think he's gonna stay around 30%. And some more bad news for Catherine Garcia is that her best borough, Manhattan, as expected, is the only borough that's finished counting the votes. And right now, I in her worst borough right now, I think is no, not her worst borough. Her worst borough is the Bronx, and the Bronx is 88% done reporting. So
Right. So yeah, I mean, right now I think it's I think that 31%. Let's suppose that the other progressive candidates have 7%. I think Garcia is super narrowly going to be on top of Wiley when everything is said and done. However, who knows? I may be wrong.
Brian Williams just called Andrew Yang John Yang.
Oops.
That's not good.
Eric Adams says there are more votes to be counted, but as New York City said, our first choice is Eric. You know, I really think that if Eric Adams does lose this race, he's going to get really mad at ranked choice voting. Because if Eric Adams loses this race, he won by 10 points, technically speaking. But if he does lose the race, it's going to be because of ranked choice voting. And then what's going to happen? Borough president races. Let's look at that.
Oh, wow. Whoa. This is so I actually wasn't following this race, but so in Buffalo, which is where my grandparents live, the incumbent mayor Byron Brown has lost.
Right.
India Walton, who is the progressive Democrat, beat Byron Brown. He is the incumbent moderate Democrat. That is really weird because Buffalo, you think of it as like a moderate Democrat city, not really a liberal city, I guess. That's really weird.
Right. Let's take a look at these borough president races. I don't know much of here, but Vanessa Gibson looks to be in the lead in Bronx by 5% over Fernando Cabrera. In Brooklyn, we're seeing Antonio Reynoso 28.6% to Robert Corrigan 19%, and then these two are very close for second place. But again, there's more candidates down south, which who knows where these gonna go. For Manhattan borough president, I think we're looking at this is a close race right here, 3% difference. It's gonna really come down to that ranked choice voting. Queens, again, this is also a ridiculously close race. Look, Elizabeth Crowley. I wonder if she's related to Joe Crowley. And then Donovan.
That'd be interesting.
Donovan Richards. That's literally a 0.3% lead. Great jokes voting is going to choose that. And then Staten Island, Democratic primary, it's pretty much going to go to Mark Murphy, probably. Who knows? Because everything can change.
I think I'm actually ready to call the Manhattan District Attorney race.
You do? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You have a lot of percent reporting.
Yeah, with more than 95% of the vote in, Alvin Bragg has expanded his lead to a 3.6% lead, up 1% up 1.2% from the 2.4% lead we saw 10 minutes ago. It's only likely to expand, and if anything, I think we're like at greater than 99% reporting. So I think there's really no path for Weinstein. I think Bragg is going to win. I'm calling it for Bragg.
That's good. So. Right now, I think the New York race. Oh, we got a big update. We got 2%. Let me see if anything's changed.
We're now at what, 90%? Yeah. Nothing much has changed.
Everything is stayed consistent. Garcia is losing by 1.2% to Wiley. I'm starting to think that maybe I don't know if it's gonna end up going like Eric Adams isn't okay. I don't know what's gonna end up happening here. I'm not sure if Andrew Yang is going to be enough to put Garcia in second place. Considering, I think that, who do you think, okay, going up the list of the important candidates, who do you think is going to take Sean Donovan's votes?
I mean, Donovan being the establishment Democrat, that he probably only got votes from more wealthy establishmentarians we talked about at the beginning of the night. His votes are probably going to go to either Garcia or Adams. Most likely Garcia, because she's, Eric
And then
Adams is. I mean, well, Eric Adams may be more moderate than Garcia, but Garcia is still more well known than Eric Adams within the city. So
yeah, and I
that's
think
my
it's also
guess.
pretty interesting how even though she was part of New York City's sanitation borough, she appeals really well to elite Democrats, which is, I don't know, kind of weird. You wouldn't think about it that way, but that's how it is. Sean Donovan, so that goes to Garcia. Let's suppose that let's just do there's no real way to actually split it because we don't know. Let's just suppose that she gets 1.5%. Can you get out your calculator?
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
Open a bunch of calculator tabs so we can crunch some numbers and make a prediction.
All right, I have some calculator tabs open.
Okay, so we're gonna add. Okay, so add the top 3 candidates right now.
Percentages, I'm guessing.
So yeah, just put in the as the beginning amount in their calculator. Put 31% for Eric Adams. Put
3.5. That's 73.1%.
For-
So they combined for 73.1% of the vote. Okay.
for who? But what did he do?
The top 3 candidates combined for 73.1% of the vote.
But okay, let's suppose give like if you give 1% to Eric Adams and 1% or 1% to Catherine Garcia, where does that
Then
put
you
them?
just get
21 to 31. Okay, Raymond McGuire, I think most of those votes are also going to go to Catherine Garcia. I think it's probably going to be the same 1-1 split.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, I mean, most likely. I mean, we can.
So we're
make our
already
best guess.
even. So that would be 22 to 32 on average. Let's just estimate. Then
Likely.
yeah.
But what about Andrew Yang?
Yeah, we're
Or
gonna
would
get into
his
that
vote
later.
go?
So 2.8% that would go to Wiley. So that puts us at
Oh, it just updated.
really
It just updated. Yeah,
a lot.
a little bit.
Okay, let's take a look at this. So we were at 32 to 22 with Scott Stringer, with Diane Morales now on Maya Wiley's. We would have 32 to 33, or let's just say 34 to 22. 24 to 32. Oh my gosh, I'm lost. Okay, just add 7 more to Wiley's 28. Andrew Yang, she has 20
No, she'd be at 29 because 22. So she'd be at 29 essentially.
with Andrew Yang. Or,
Yeah.
or 29, okay. And how much is did I say that Wiley had?
Oh,
Plus
no, I
the-
just did Wiley. I thought you were talking about Wiley. For Garcia, she'd be at 28, and then Wiley would probably get what 2%, so maybe 24, 28 for Garcia, 24 for Wiley, and then 32 for Adams.
Yeah, I think I'm convinced that Catherine Garcia is gonna get second place after ranked choice voting. She's just 1 point behind.
Yeah, because she has the best appeal for sure.
Right. She appeals to the rich, to the not to the poorer areas of New York City didn't show up for Garcia because I think a lot of people saw her as an elite, which is interesting. Well, maybe because she is. It's just that you wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, overall tonight was a really big example of a couple things. First thing I will say, today was a big example of how, in a big city like New York, progressives have a voice, but at a citywide election, they weren't able to come together and win that race. The second thing I think it spoke today is that New York is still very, very big establishment Democratic country. The establishment Democrats add up to more than 50 or 60% of the vote. If I'm not wrong, yeah, 60, almost 65. So I think that's another big thing for tonight we have to take account in. The establishment Democrats really did well tonight. But then also,
Yeah, New York.
let me see. Oh my gosh, I forgot. We haven't been answering chat questions. I'm so sorry. So AV predictions ask, who's Eric Adams? Are they a moderate? So Eric Adams is a moderate. He is slightly moderate. Let's see. Which is why he's winning. Okay. These primaries are stupid.
Okay, someone in the chat just said someone in the chat just says that Andrew Yang's going to win from choice voting. That's highly unlikely. I will eat my hat on camera if Andrew Yang wins this race.
Yeah, at this point, just because of the people who are below him. Let's suppose Andrew Yang was a close, tight race, and he's on top of Catherine Garcia and Maya Wiley. Then maybe I can give it to you and say that he could win by ranked choice voting. But at this point, it's impossible, just because he's at the bottom of the pack. If you add up all the percentage, like 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, that would barely put him over Garcia, and he won't get all of that. He said, okay, Shamal wants a little update. So a little update from this race. Eric Adams still, oops, I don't know what he did there. Okay, Eric Adams still holds the lead. 31% to 21.7% to 20.4%. Maya Wiley's in second place. Catherine Garcia in third. Andrew Yang has completely fallen from grace, 11.7%. Scott Stringer at 5.2%. Diane Morales at 2.8%. Raymond McGuire at 2.4%, and then everywhere is like 2 points or less. So yeah, I think that at this point,
that's a pretty solid recap.
Yeah, at this point in time, the race is getting it's getting interesting with the ring choice voting, and ultimately, it's going to be really hard to really see a final winner. But what I think, UAP, I want your take. Who do you think is going to win the race?
Adams. I mean, I'm not saying that Wiley or Garcia can't win, but I think Adams has like a 90% chance of winning at this point in time. Garcia probably has like a 6% chance of winning. Wiley probably has a 4% chance of winning. Realistically, I wouldn't bet against Adams at all, no matter what the odds, or no matter what odds I'm given. But we're still talking about a pretty reasonably, I guess, close. I mean, it's overcomplicated because of ranked choice voting. It could get decently close in the end, because I don't think Adams is going to win by 10. He's probably going to win by 6 or 7, because Garcia is going to do better with ranked choice votes, because she does have appeal to everyone, the way Adams doesn't. So we could see that happening, but it's still about Adams winning, and I think that right now he's in a very good spot.
My calculations and what I think, I mean, I agree what you're saying, but I am seeing a more viable path with ranked choice voting with Garcia. I just think that Adams won't get any like. Of course, he's gonna get like second and third choices.
So you think Garcia is gonna win still?
Yeah, because I think that Garcia.
You still think Garcia is gonna win?
I think so.
Wow. Okay.
Sure. I just think that like Garcia has somewhat more possibility. To hold a lot more voters. Like I think Adams like ranked. Let's suppose with progressive, he's gonna be ranked like third or fourth, or no, I'm lying, fifth or sixth, because I forgot about Stringer and I forgot about what's this Diane Morales. With like establishment, he might be ranked second or third. But again, there's no one really establishment below him other than Catherine Garcia. So I really am not sure, because I think that's a bad thing for Adams. He's kind of running in his own little world, he's established. He's Joe Biden in New York City. That's what I think it is. It went down to Stony. Hold on, I have to check this out. Oh, it just did. Wow.
Wait, what just happened? Or did his lead get a little smaller?
No. Look at this. Oops, hold on.
Just lost a lot of votes.
That's what I'm saying. Same thing happened here. Let me stop my video so you guys can see the full screen.
Oh, well, oh, geez. It just went back to 78%. Was there a counting 78%. Error?
No, because I think we still have the same amount of votes.
Yeah, I think it's a glitch on NYT's end.
God damn it. Can you check decision desk?
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, according to this, the results are pretty much essentially the same. I think it's just that we have more votes than there were originally projected. So,
decision desk says that 89% of the vote is in, and that Eric Adams has a 9-point lead.
How many votes does it say that Eric Adams has?
Right now, it says that Eric Adams is at. Hold on, shoot! I just misclicked. The decision desk has Eric Adams winning with 200,000 votes.
200,000 votes.
NYT has him at 202,000. Decision has him at 200,000,
Okay, so
759.
what I think is what I think happened is that New York Times knows that there's probably more precincts than they originally thought. I think look, what I was reading up this morning was that they expected 15% of the vote to be absentee, and it's impossible. They already counted all of that. So I think this glitch, you guys,
NYT probably overshot or probably undershot the amount of precincts, which is why they had different results from decision desk.
Right. Yo, that's interesting because now what my real question is, those absentee voters, like who, I think that Andrew might do well with absentee voters. Because these people are not in the country. These are usually they're not in the country for the most part. Some of them are. But most of them are, or just stayed at home. If it's the case that I think it is, with military ballots, I think Andrew is going to do pretty good. But as far as actual absentee, like mail-in votes, people that have been watching the news lately might vote for Catherine Garcia or Andrew Yang. Maybe even Eric Adams, but I'm not like 100% sure. So, UEP, what do you think?
Well, it'll be cool to look at exit polls once those are out, because then we can see, what these coalitions looked like. But I think as of right now, I think Adams just did well with your everyday New Yorkers who might have been, kind of in the middle. Because look, we kind of think that every American is like, super left wing or super right wing. When in reality, the majority of Americans are quite moderate, and I think that Eric Adams did a good job of just appealing to everyday moderate voters who didn't want crazy polarizing rhetoric and were just tired of politics. So I think that Adams did that well. That being said, Wiley got the progressive turnout that she needed that Yang didn't get, and Catherine Garcia just did a good job of appealing to kind of everyone to pull over a fifth of the vote to go for her.
Right. I think that at this point, the big thing is going to be that it's going to be those absentee ballots. I think Eric Adams appealing to daily New Yorkers, it's going to help out. But yeah, I think what Matthew's saying is true. There's no exit polls. If there were exit polls, they would be out by now, which I'm really bummed about because one of the things I love.
Exit polls are useful.
Yeah. I really think that the exit polls are really useful just to tell off like who went by what community, and it would be also great if we could actually see precinct by precinct, which I think there's a way to do it, but it's probably going to take too long to do it live, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's there are data sets you can download. I like to mess around with precinct data, but yeah, there are data sets you can download.
Right, but precinct data is like also like hard to analyze live because you have to like.
It's very, very tedious.
Right, and then also, especially in New York City, where there's millions of precincts.
If you really want, I can share a precinct map of New York City. It's terrible. There's so many precincts. It'll lag my computer because of how many precincts it has.
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
All right, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I'm just gonna use Dave's redistricting app, which gives you a free precinct map of New York. Let's see.
Matthew, you're right. This is a very big conservative victory for the Democrats. I mean, this kind of just cements the Biden wing of the party is strong. And I think it just tells us that at the end of the day, even considering, this is a different race, it's New York City, it's whatever, the establishment Democrats are doing very well. In New York, they're doing well nationally and doing very well nationwide.
Yeah, and I think this was expected. Like, we weren't expecting like a Diane Morales type victory. But realistically speaking, this was a strong showing for establishment Democrats. Now, I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to... Whoa. Yeah, my computer literally just lagged. Whoa. I'm experiencing the spinning wheel of death. I cannot move my mouse around, so I'm going to have to talk for a bit.
Right. This race gives me... Okay, it says that your race, your computer is ready to your screen.
Oh,
tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm all good to go.
Okay. Oops.
Can you guys hear my fan going crazy, by the way? Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, I'll turn it off in a second, but...
Those are all precincts of New York City?
Yes. You can fill it in my county. These are how many precincts there are. We got... Staten Island's not terrible. That's Staten Island. but then you kind of go up to Brooklyn, right there.
I love
You've
how you
got
can see
Manhattan,
Manhattan. The only exception where there's
Bronx.
no precincts and it's nice and like even is Central Park.
Yeah, it's very useful to have, but it's still pretty bad. Then you kind of get, and it gets a little more rural as you go up to Long Island, Suffolk
Long
County, and
Island.
Nassau County. So that's pretty cool. And if you want, I can
Wow.
show you partisan lean of the precincts. Let's see. Let's do partisan lean of the precincts. Turn off precinct lines. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
Wow. That's 2020
Super
election,
blue.
right?
No, this is actually 2012 or 2016 election. Actually, they don't have 2020 yet, but this is 2016. So similar results. It doesn't matter because New York's a blue state. But look at that.
I wish that I wonder if do they release primary data per precinct?
You can probably find it, but not on this website. Although maybe if you want, I can message you it or something. But I don't. Yeah, it's tough to find on DRA.
Okay.
And what I'm wondering is which is the most. Let me see something. So Brooklyn is majority white. Queens is majority is plurality Hispanic. Manhattan is plurality white, as is, and Bronx is majority Hispanic. Bronx actually is like what? That's like 4/7 Hispanic, 2/7 black, and 1/7 white. So Bronx is the most diverse of the boroughs.
Right, and then that's why I think we're seeing very good results for certain candidates in that borough.
Eric Adams, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Let's actually look at that. So I want you to repeat that information for our viewers so they can see it with the current statistics. Tell me about Brooklyn.
So Brooklyn is is still very diverse, but not as diverse as other precincts. It's half white and like 45% black. Or no. Whoops, no, I messed up. Oops. So it's basically it's like 2/5 white, 1.5 black, and like 1/5 Asian, and then it's like the other 1/2 or whatever is Hispanic. So you do kind of see that being semi-diverse, but the most diverse is Bronx, where you have I already said 4/7 Hispanic, 2/7 black, and 1/7 white, which ended up being Eric Adams' best borough. So that's pretty interesting to see. And then the most Republican borough, Staten Island, is I think actually majority Italian, and it's basically it's like what like almost 60% white, and around maybe 20% black. It's the most white of all the New York City boroughs. So just to put that out there.
UEP, I want to ask you a question. What do you think was the biggest issue in this race that impacted the race?
Well, I think that a big reason that realistically that Eric Adams could have won and done better with black voters was because he was moderate on policing, and because he was a much more he didn't, like I said, he didn't tie himself to defund the police. And because I think, with the riots last summer, it's been a year since unfortunately George Floyd was killed. The riots that took place, no, I shouldn't say riots because it was mostly peaceful, but the protests that took place after that really were very controversial, to say the least, and they were very, very inflammatory. And that I think really helped, Eric Adams being a moderate voice in that issue, I think really helped him with socially moderate black voters. So, I think that's why he did better in areas of the Bronx that were majority black. Again, we don't have a precinct map yet, but I bet that some of Eric Adams' best showings were in the majority black areas of, and I can actually filter this, the majority black areas of the Bronx. So I filtered this data set. The darker the precinct, the more black voters it has. So you can see that, filled in my county. That's essentially what where most black voters in New York City live. They live, a lot of them in this area of Brooklyn, and you have kind of a bigger chunk in the Bronx.
Right. I'm gonna have to say that for this race, the biggest issue certainly was, the quality of life in New York definitely during the pandemic certainly decreased. I think that's something that cannot be cannot be like set against, because there's many different factors in the pandemic that really affected New York, and I think um among them were, number one, you had the pandemic resurgence, and I think that was a little bit of a part. But then the biggest things were, the surge in crime, and this has been happening everywhere around the country. And New York City is a place that, it's a big city, and historically it's had certain parts, that were somewhat of full of crime. So I think that historically, just there's been a big debate in the city with how, crime should be taken care of, and I think it was a big question. So if you take a look at what positions the candidates took, Eric Adams. Oops, hold on. You're not in the stream. Hold on. There you go. I'm sorry.
Oops. Okay. There are some issues in the chat. Hold on. So the peaceful protest is always appropriate. That being said, there was, to a certain extent, there were instances of violence, which, again, violence is nearly always bad. And when people are burning down buildings, and again, I don't want to have this conversation on live stream, but when people are burning down buildings, that's not appropriate. That being said, I'm not going to, talk about this anymore, but I do want to clear up the violence is not appropriate. That being said, George Floyd should not have died. Okay, can we just agree to move on? I was not trying to spark a mini debate in the last room. I was merely saying that people were longing for a moderate issue on policing, and Eric Adams gave that to them. That's all I was trying to say.
Okay, so back to what I was saying about policing, and that has been that was one of the big things, because when you have surges in crime, and it's not only happening in New York City, it's happening in every big city across the country. You have it in Chicago, even here in Miami, where I live, where Miami used to be a pretty safe city where you didn't see that much crime. So that like surge in crime, and then if you have the Democrats who are coming out, at least a lot of them, if you have these like more liberal Democrats who are coming out and saying, well, let's defund the police, let's make sure that our community policing, while that might be, beneficial somehow in the long term, it's really not going to end up working when your city is filled with crime to the brim, to a certain extent. But then there has to be a way to balance out the crime and the policing. And I think with Eric Adams, that was one of his roads to success. His ability to appeal to the voter, his ability to go out and say, well, crime is an important issue, but there's many different alternative ways to take it. That appeal, when your city is, struggling with that, it's a very important appeal that could actually win you elections in this race. I think that's what gave Eric Adams the win, and it prohibited some more liberal voters or candidates to go out and win that race.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
Chat, of course, I mean the protests from last year, they had certain, like, there's always certain parts of it that are fortunate, and then you have to also balance, like, what's more important, social justice or safety, which public safety is 100 times more important. But those protests weren't covered, I think, thoroughly to what they were, because they were very violent at times. But what I will say is that what Matthew was saying is what won the Eric Adams race, and it was people wanted police reform, not defunding. Defunding the police is something that loses elections for Democrats. It lost them many House and Senate races in 2018. Just a general phrase that could be used in an ad. It's a real big reason why a lot of voters, they turned away. And while the Democratic Party in New York may be liberal, I mean it's Democrats. The real fact is there is still an establishment, and there is still a backbone to the party that said, I think the crime and safety is a little bit more important. I thought Adams was a Republican when he was on Fox. I think that when Eric Adams talks, I mean, when I was watching a lot of the coverage for this race, it was pretty much said Eric Adams is a Republican because he's out here doing all these things, a lot more conservative views for certain things. And I think for a city like New York, of course he's gonna seem like, oh, he's so far right, but maybe that's just what New York City needed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm gonna say a couple things. So I'm seeing a lot of debate in the chat about Democrats, Republicans. I mean, realistically speaking, I believe that this country, like racism, is an issue, right? Now, there's many different ways to go about it, and I think if we live in a country where everyone, if Democrats say the Republicans are the racist ones, and if the Republicans say the Democrats are the racist one, trust me, there's never going to be issue fix. I'm telling you this as a Hispanic person, that I really think that the best way to get rid of racism is to forget race in its whole. And if we're living in this world where everything is about race, it's going to be impossible because we can't live in this, back and forth. That is what I'm going to say in it, and I want you guys to see what you guys think down in the chat. But yeah.
On a separate note, Eric Adams was a registered Republican from 1997 until 2001. I just learned that.
Well, that's not surprising. He was a cop, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just he's just a little bit more to the right than a lot more Democrats. And by the way, we've been talking here for so long about this that we've completely neglected that there's new results coming in.
Yes, we have.
Take it away,
it's 84. Yeah, they fixed it. Wiley's only expanding her lead over Catherine Garcia.
Yeah, at this point in time, yeah, Catherine Garcia is doing poorly. Like, she's not doing poorly. I mean, she's where her poll numbers, a little bit ahead of where her poll numbers were expected to be.
She's not even doing that bad. She just wasn't expected to win, and she didn't.
Right. Well, we just got another update. Yeah, 20. So she's leading Catherine Garcia by 1.7 points, which is actually pretty big. Yeah, Maya Wiley, I think that she might be able to narrowly pull it off. I mean, even with it's going to be very close for that second race. At this point in time, it's going to look like Catherine Garcia might be able to pull it off only if Maya Wiley doesn't stop gaining. Let's see. So the New York Times just sent me an email with because I have New York Times alerts, and the email reads: Eric Adams leads New York Democratic mayoral with most ballots counted, but new voting system means winner might not be cleared. See, it says what we've been saying, right? UEP, that this race will not be be chosen for a while.
Y'all should have listened to us. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, we did say that. We've been saying that for quite a while, really, for the majority of this.
Right. And by the way, that call that you made was pretty accurate. Alan Bragg just short for declaring victory in DA race. Let's check on that. 34-30. Yeah, I think he's got that race under the bag.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of stabilized. It's not really going to it's realistically it shouldn't change. It should stay at around a 3.5% lead for Alvin Bragg.
Well, okay, now Maya Wiley has a 2% lead over Catherine Garcia. things are definitely going south for Garcia. Eric Adams is just staying steady, and Maya Wiley is
He's
slowly.
been giving his victory speech for like half an hour.
Yeah, that's a lot. Trust me. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Maya Wiley is probably going to end up with, I think, at the end of the night with 23% of the vote at this rate. Yang, not Yang, but Eric Adams is going to end with like 31.1. Catherine Garcia is probably going to end up with like a good 19%. I think that's how it's going to end up because Catherine Garcia has been losing votes and losing votes.
Yeah, she's been falling a little bit.
Yeah, I think at the end of the race, the big battle for mayor is going to be dependent. And mark my words, whenever they do announce results, I want to go live again. What just happened? What was open this time? Hold on. Never mind. When these races get the results, I mark my words that second place, whoever that, it's going to be more influential to the whole race than the actual first race. So, yeah. Yeah, I think this race has, been very shocking at times. I don't think this is the night we were expecting.
For sure. I had no idea what
I had no. I think okay. I didn't expect Andrew Yang to fall, and I expected Catherine Garcia to get second place. But Maya Wiley knocked it out of the park, and why do I keep calling him Ben Adams? Eric Adams.
Ben McAdams. I mean, you're close to the former Utah congressman.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep on saying that. Eric Adams continues to do very well.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
who else is live? Who else is live? Are you guys watching two streams at once? Me and Purple are live. LTE is live. I think Red Eagle is live.
Red Eagle is live,
some smaller
and then
channels are live.
some smaller channels are live too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing a very heated debate right there in the chat right now about what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, a ton of people are live today.
Yeah.
Because we're live, LTE is live, Red Eagle's live, and the other smaller channels are live. Wow. Everyone wants to get into the New York primary.
The New York action.
Guys, I'm actually really glad that we could reach some New Yorkers. That was our point, because our channels, we don't know for where a lot of our viewers are, and I'm glad that we could get some New Yorkers into our channel, and enjoy the thing today.
Yeah, I can name a few people who comment on my videos who live in New York City. So cool to meet some New York people.
Right. And I think that this race is going to be something that it's going to be left too close to call. So we'll leave the race at this. Maya Wiley currently in second place. Eric Adams doing very well tonight. And it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys
to be with all of you today here tonight. This was a really fun experience, and it was actually one of the funnest selection nights I've ever done. It feels like I've been here only for 2 hours when I've been sitting here for 4 hours almost. Wow, 4 hours. Yeah. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content, and also go head over to UEP's channel. He has an exceptional channel, and he's so close to reaching 5,000 subscribers. If you can go help him out, that would be great. And also very grateful for reaching 2.3K subscribers tonight. So thank you guys so much for watching. UEP, do you have anything to say?
Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you guys staying with us for, nearly 4 hours. I know I took a break in the middle, but thank you all for coming in. Thank you all for listening. And this was fun. We should do this for another election. We should do that again.
Yeah, I think that you guys should, if you guys are interested in politics, you should expect this for the general election the same day that we have Virginia and New Jersey races. So very fun times. And hopefully we can do this again for the midterms. That would be really fun. We'll be going crazy because, you know, those are our favorite elections to cover. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and good.